microphone, the
Okay.
entire room gets picked up.
Okay, Malia, we're ready to go.
Everyone, I want to make an announcement before we
Right.
officially go. This mic, our regular audio kit, decided to die this morning. This mic is extremely sensitive. So during the meeting, we'll need you guys to keep the extra talk down so it doesn't pick
No
up on the
talking.
recording.
If you whisper, they're gonna know about it on the whole internet.
Yeah. So what you want to do is during the meeting, keep the conversations between yourselves down if non-existent.
Unless
Okay.
you want the whole internet to know about it.
All right, we are recording and ready to go.
Okay, thank you. I call the meeting to order of the Oregon Racing Commission for Saturday, September 20th. Karen, could you do the roll call, please?
Karen Berkman. Director of Administration. Today we have Chair Doherty,
Yeah, here?
Vice Chair Barry,
Here?
Commissioner Fowler,
Present.
Commissioner Stein.
Present.
Okay, so everyone is here. The next two things we'll need approval. The first one, we've got a meeting agenda. And before we approve the agenda, do we have any additions?
Yes. Chair Doherty.
Yes.
This is Connie Nguyen. I would like to add on an additional topic, which I may get some presentation from Dr. Palmer on, is a possible emergency rule for Coggins.
Okay. And so we'll put that under new business, number 11.
Sure.
Okay. Any other additions to the agenda? Okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented and amended.
I'll move to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fowler makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and Commissioner Stein seconds. With that in favor, all those who agree with the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next thing, August minutes. You all got the minutes earlier. And so are there any additions or corrections to the August meeting minutes? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion?
I move we approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Okay, so Commissioner Stein moves that we approve the minutes of the August meeting. Is there a second? And Commissioner Fowler is a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, they are approved. Before we move on to old business, thank you all. We welcome you all to Grants Pass. And hopefully you had a good trip one way or another, and that if you came from the north, the traffic for the U of O Oregon State football game did not slow you down too much. Okay, next old business, Director Nguyen.
Good afternoon, Chair Doherty and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Connie Nguyen and I am the Executive Director of the Oregon Racing Commission. As most of you know, the state of Oregon has been under some financial strain recently. I think it's been in most of the papers that we have over a $300 million deficit. And a lot of efforts are being made to shore up that money. All state travel has been canceled. Out of state travel has been canceled. They said that if we already had something booked, it was up to the discretion of the commission. We did have trips booked to go to the symposium, which is a very important event. However, we thought that it was important for us to cancel that. So Micah, myself, and Commissioner Barry will be foregoing that for the next 2 years. We are having a meeting here in Portland with the ADW, so we hope to catch up with them then instead. As part of that, we have also canceled all in-person meetings. That we usually have 2 a year, unless you're local. The exception will be that Micah will come up in May for the in-person meeting because of the fact that he has ADWs that need to be renewed. Otherwise, the only people that will be going to that are the people who are within close driving distance. In addition to that, we'll be looking at the number of people we will be sending to the fair meets, but most of them are critical and we really have very little flexibility there. We're in really good shape compared to most agencies because we're self-funded. We don't see them asking for additional money from us like they will be for everyone else. The remainder of the organizations are being asked for additional cuts, some pretty significant, and they may even be doing layoffs, and they have been frozen for hiring. We are very fortunate at the Racing Commission that they've asked everyone to wait at least 30 to 60 days before you do any additional hiring. Their vet position has been open over 60 days, so we do not have to wait any longer on that one if we happen to find the right candidate. So again, the good news in this is we're set pretty well, yet we still want to be cautious and be a team player. We will continue to be fiscally conservative and watch everything as best as we can. Training, all Allied State training will be canceled. That is unfortunate. The good news is we saw this coming, so we uploaded additional training at the end of last year. So we had a lot of additional training opportunities for staff and commissioners. Some they paid for themselves. So we're in really good shape there, and we will look for additional training opportunities that can be done on site remotely. That'll be the best way to take advantage of that. We are very fortunate. I already said that. I want to thank the commissioners for their time and efforts in completing the evaluation forms on not only themselves, but also on me. And I appreciate their feedback. I've actually stuck up a little note next to my desk so I can look at it every day and what my priorities are. The two top priorities out of the three, I asked them to tell me the top three. The top two are matching, and that's safety and finance/revenue. Always a concern anyway. So those will be my priority. Outreach was a third. So outreach is important. How we do that, we'll have to decide, but that is an important one. And then also mentioned was innovation in technology and regional racing alliance. So those are my marching orders. The commission themselves gave themselves a pretty good rating overall. Everybody seemed pretty comfortable. The one area that stuck out was I do note that for new commissioners, it would be really important for me to add to the onboarding process exactly how and when we do the budget. So they're more familiar with that and feel like they're more a part of that. And we are at the very end of the budgeting process now, as you know, the budget was submitted like forever ago. So they understand that process. I have a second page. Many of you.
You've been busy.
I have been busy. Many of you may know Dr. Palmer, who is maybe going to wave for us, who's on Zoom. She was a commissioner for many years and the chair for some time and is very well respected in the industry. She will be serving as our senior veterinarian for the fall meet. Thank you very much for making that sacrifice. Thanks for your time and talents. I want to thank Dr. Lombard for her continuing support as well. To date, the fall meet at Grants Pass Downs has been without injury to equine or human athlete. This reflects the hard work of the ORC and HRA staff. We have had challenges with air quality, rain, and lightning. However, thanks to good communication, we have managed to run all races with only some minor delays. On a final note, even with some setbacks on finances and the laws of North California racing, we are still strong and moving in the right direction. I understand Emerald Downs will run again next year, which is awesome. And I believe we are poised for a long and prosperous future. I envision us over time getting back up to 50 days of racing a year. It won't happen overnight, but it is a possibility, and that is my goal. Our horsemen and women are, as well as our communities, love what we do and are committed to working through to move us forward. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Been a busy lady. And I'll remind everyone at Emerald Downs, go there on Irish Day. Yes, they have an Irish Day at Emerald.
Yes, I know where I'm going next year.
Yes. Okay, next thing, budget update.
And I would request that you put up my budget for the screen. Okay, this is the lab,
Which one was this?
the lab one. Top.
That one?
That looks like a lab. Make it bigger. Please.
Oh, but if I need to share this with the participants.
Yes, please. So the total budget is what, 180 pages, Karen, something like that?
I think about 190.
193, as you would know, since she's been helping put it together, or primarily putting it together, putting the pieces together. But I'm not going to show you 193 pages today because I don't think that you want to, but it will be posted to our website as soon as we go through one final review to make sure everything's in place. I do want to highlight some things on this. So how the budget works, just as a refresher, some of you, I know you certainly know this from being a legislator, but there are basically three budgets that are put together. There's a preliminary budget that goes up to the governor's office. And we get a little bit of say on that. And that's done. We'll probably start working on that this winter for the next one. So it's done like a year and a half in advance. And even then, we have very little say in most of the categories. We have some say, but very little. Most of these are mandated by the state. Then from there, the governor looks at it, and the governor and the CFO decide what they like and don't like on it and tell us the changes that they're going to require or recommend to us. So the budget's going to change a little there. Last year, for example, we went from our initial budget to going to the governor and them telling us, we support you taking 25% that goes to the general fund. Let's up your budget to help you. Then it goes to the final legislative approved budget. And this is where we lost that money again. Initially, we would have lost several positions, but they said, no, we're not going to let you cut the positions because you have to have them. And we weren't even going to, I mean, I was going to cut primarily my own position. I was going to say I can do half-time. They didn't think that was a good idea, and they thought it set bad precedents. So they said, you're going to have to make cuts everywhere else, but not to the industry. I made it very clear, we could not hurt staff and we could not hurt the industry. So we've made further cuts on our travel, which is okay because the governor's changed travel anyway. We're gonna have to really watch our legal expenses, Kelly, wherever you are, please remember that. And every other nickel and dime to make sure that we're in good shape. There would normally be a possibility that we could go to an e-board. That's still possible if we bring in more revenue than they thought we were going to, which I think we will. But we do need to realize that the state is in a little bit of a bind, so we want to be very strategic about that. And I'll be relying on the knowledge, especially of our chair, on what could and couldn't happen if we went to the e-board when the state's suffering. So some things on this I thought would be particularly interesting for you to see is, let's see. So if you go to slide 2, you're going to see the requested budget and then the governor's budget and then what we really got. And it looks like it's the same all the way through, but the governor's budget isn't reflecting that 25%, which they had actually requested. So it's
The
about
governor's budget has requested that addition. So
yeah, they have, but it's not reflected in here. So basically, we got the same as what I had requested, which would have caused some cuts in staffing, but we don't have to do that. They just said cut everything else. But again, there is the opportunity to go back and ask the e-board for additional funds, especially if we can show a solid reason for it. So the biggest thing here to understand is if you're an association, it's unlikely that we're gonna have a ton of extra money. We're not gonna, last year we gave out over $1 million or around $1 million at the end of the year. Probably not gonna happen this year. If you look at available revenue, you can see where the request was for 10, the governor's was for 10, and the adopted budget was only for 8. So they don't think that we're gonna have the revenue that we say. Now, do they really not think that, or did they just lower it so there was potentially more cash for us to have that could be swept? So that's the big one. You're not on the right page now. Go go down.
And just real quickly, those of you that know,
There you go. Show the
if there's
10,
money left in budgets, the governor, if things are slow, they sweep the money. In other words, they go through and they take the money away. And it could be in midterm budget and so on. And they've done this before where they've swept millions off of people's budgets. So,
Right. So I'm sorry, go back to the first one again. So you can see the 10, 10, and 8. So if you go back to the first one, you see where they have the ending balance on there? Do they have the ending balance on that one? I thought it was on that one. Okay. Well, yeah, go to it's slide number 1.
that's like,
Yeah, okay, so see the 1.3 and then the 1.3 and then the 1.3 again at the top. Go down to right there. So that's what they projected for the ending balance is 1.3, 1.3, and then 1.3. Well, the truth of the matter is we gave away $1 million at the end of the year, so we don't have 1.3. We have about 600,000, which is cutting it. They wanted us to have up to 2 million, but we decided that we didn't want to take a chance and have that money lost, so we gave it all away to very good causes. I'm very thankful that we emphasizes purses and safety in there. Okay. Let's see where else I want to go. Hang on just a second. Nothing. Not this was one more page. Let me see. Personal services, if you go down to page 5, personal services includes payroll. And as you know, payroll has continued to go up. We had a couple of really high inflationary years. So unfortunately, this 3.4 also requires us to make the steward position only seasonal. Before we had it where it could actually work part-time in the winter. We don't know how well this is going to work. I'd like to go to the e-board and get that back at least quarter time if we have the money, because things do come up during the year. And right now, we don't have a good mechanism to handle that. If you go down to page 7, you can see that the special payments have basically stayed flat the last 3 years. But we continue to give you more money than what we have allocated because we feel like we can and we'll make the money happen. We gave well over $1 million more last time. Although we're probably not going to be able to do that next time. We go to page 8. You can see where we did have to cut half a position to seasonal, which is very regrettable, but that's what we had to do to be able to balance. And let's see, I think most of it is just trying to see. Nothing really. Oh, the other thing, and I don't know where to find it quickly on here. You can go ahead and turn that off. I can just bring up a couple more. They had cut all of our out-of-state travel anyway, except for $5,000. There is an exception to the out-of-state travel. We can do audits. Which we can't operate unless we can do audits. The audits will continue, but those are reimbursed by the auditee. So there's really no financial loss there. The in-state travel was cut in half. Some of that we actually can take care of, like a lot of it might be sending commissioners to our fair meetings and having in-person meetings, and that's all going to have to go away. If somebody wants to go to a fair meeting, it's on your own money for the next 2 years, unless we can find some more money to add back into it. One of the questions I have for the commission is the last 2 weeks of October, because I've already booked the other hotels and paid for them. Last 2 weeks of October, do you want me down here at the meet, or should I have Micah come in my place? I feel bad not being there because it seems like something bad happens whenever I'm gone. On the other hand, I want to be fiscally conservative. I can lessen the money by getting a cheaper Airbnb, and also by going up early in the morning, which is what I used to do. or I can send Micah who lives in the area. So you can give me some feedback on that later on, wherever you think is important. Budget update. So again, it sounds grim to a part, but it's really not. We actually are fine. Kelly's gonna not do anything unless I ask her to. I want to really compliment Kelly for being so good about that. We used to get a lot of surprise bills with former AGs, assistant, and we don't see that with her. We don't have that problem, and that's been tremendously helpful in us balancing our budget. And quite frankly, thanks to Kelly, that's one of the reasons why we had extra money this last year is because we were able to take some of it out of what we had allocated to give her.
Okay, thank you.
That's it.
Okay, any questions? Any questions she can answer about the budget? Because the one thing about the budget process, I mean, it is depending on what our income is in the state of Oregon, kind of fluid. And so you go through and this is what we are hoping that it will stay. And I think it was very prudent with this to go through and not have a large cash carryover kind of thing, because that will be something. And I have a feeling next session, the budgets will be swept. I think that there's just between federal cuts and increasing need and lower income from the state of Oregon because of some of the federal things that have been done. We're going to be it's going to be 2008 all over again. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you much. We don't need to do anything on the budget update.
No, it's just update.
Okay.
Where we are.
Next thing we have is best practices and strategic planning report.
Thank you very much, Chair.
All right. And if I can get my superhero to put that up. Second one, APPR. And last time we had met, I showed you preliminarily what this would look like, but we didn't have all the data to put in. Now we have all the data, thanks to you passing that on. So just as a comparison, last year we were 75% green. This year we're 66. Last year we were 25% red. This year we're 16% and 16% yellow. So I don't know if that's really better or not. It's just slightly different. There are some factors that mitigating circumstances which will explain some of that. If you go to the first one, the first little graph. Very official words, graph. Yeah, official word. Okay, so this slide is, in my opinion, totally it's not accurate when you're looking at it like this, because we actually did do quite a bit better on equine fatalities. The problem with this is the legislature changed our goals. Our goal was 1.5 fatalities per 1,000. And they made the decision based on all the data I got them, not based on all the data I got them, that we were going to change it to 1 per 1,000, which is, as far as I know, nobody's standard. So if we had gone 1.5 to 1,000, instead of being 40.9 on that last one, we would have been 68.8%. So we actually did do better there. Not exactly where we want to be, but better. And that's my takeaway on that. Now, in this category, we've made a lot of improvements already. This last year has been full of improvements, everything from keeping the horses an hour to now keeping the horses to an hour and a half in the test barn to make sure that we're getting all the tests we need. Duplicate, better coverage on, yeah, you don't even need to have anything out, but you can find. Better coverage on our back end. So when the horses are coming off the track, we're watching them. A lot of internal things that we've done, more than external, really. Okay, the next one. Next one also, first of all, we don't have any data to compare it to. This is a brand new statistic that we are now looking at. And this statistic is how many positive controlled substances do we have in the last year? And this is fiscal year. I put 100% because there's no way to track it because we had 0. This is only for controlled substances. In this particular year, we had no controlled substance violations. We're doing more testing than we ever have. That may change in the future, but we don't tend to get a lot of controlled substance violations anyway. And just so everybody's clear, a controlled substance is something that they're allowed to have. However, there's limits on it and it has to be within a certain time frame. The next one is the number of injuries. That's also a new one for us. We're 163%. However, that might be overinflated. And the reason is because we were not having a vet on the back gate watching the horses come off. And because of that, we may have missed some horses that were potentially lame coming off the gate. So we may see that go up, down, indicating more injuries. And I just think overall, we're doing a better job of really watching the horses. However, with that going down, I do expect that we'll see the fatalities go up, which a higher percentage.
You mean go down? Tell.
Yeah, the fatalities will go down. Our percentage to goal will go up.
Mhm, okay.
That's always confusing because it's kind of opposite.
Thank you. That
All right,
makes a little
next.
more sense.
We're almost done. I promise. This is license turnaround. The licensing group is doing an okay job on that. Again, this is one where we'll have better data next year because it's all done by paper now. Next year, it'll all be electronic, so it'll be much easier for us to track in real time how well we're doing on that. But the team overall does a good job on turning around licenses. The new system should help. Some people will love it. Some people will still want to do it manually, and that's fine. We want to provide the best customer service we can. If somebody needs to have somebody else enter it for them, that's what we'll do. And the last one is self-reported. This is the commissioners on how you did. You guys came up with a 93.75 on a goal of 100. And I think one thing that I realized from this that I should do to better support the commission, and I think I mentioned this before, is add that to the orientation. So I can explain exactly how the budget is done and walk everybody through it so they know when and where and what parts we have control over and what parts we don't. So that was good feedback for me to see that I need to add additional training in on that. Next. The overall customer service is 83% with a goal of 80, and we got phenomenal comments from the ADWs, and some of the trainers had some concerns. We got more trainers and owners than we've ever had before that answer the survey, so much better response from them. One area of weakness we found is we did not get any jockeys to comment on here. So since we're in the new year, one thing I'm going to do, thanks to the recommendations of Rod and Randy, we're going to put together an English and Spanish survey, and I'm going to personally bring it to all the jockeys and try and have them fill it out. Also, Randy has offered, and I don't know if the quarter horse people would like this too, that they can hand out the survey in their meeting for their members to fill out, so they can get us back that feedback. And I'll meet with the quarter horse people later and see if they would be interested in that as well, so we can get as much feedback as possible from a wider group. And that concludes my report.
Okay, any questions? Commissioner Barry, you look like you've got a question in your,
I just,
questions or
thinking how
comments.
much I wanted to add from my notes this morning. With strategic priority, strategic planning.
Yeah, because you're up next.
What's that?
You're up next.
I am next. Just go through it then. Move on to
Call
the,
him.
For,
He's next on, best practices.
on
Next
head
page.
coaching? On best practices. No.
Yeah, we're still on the, wherever, yeah.
Okay.
Best practices.
Okay, one thing I would say on this, and I think the one thing that was brought out and one thing that would be helpful to the people that make a lot of decisions, especially about money, is how much more emphasis there is upon having more professionals at the track, of going through and having more trained. I thought that was very impressive, that, extended staffing in the test barn, enhanced veterinary oversight, improved track surface management, which I think is very important, horse welfare initiatives, all of these sort of things were added. And it's things that cost money, but it's things that are essential to to what our goal is. So, and to the industry. So I thought that was very good. Okay. Anything else on the report?
That concludes my report.
Okay. And so, what's the next thing we have? Head check?
Best practices.
Oh, best
and
practices, best
strategic-
project and strategic planning reports.
so,
Commissioner.
actually in our committee meeting today, we reviewed the same document, the annual performance progress report. So there's a fair amount of overlap between my report and Director Wynn's report. I hope, because we should be on the same page. As she mentioned, the directive that she's gotten from the commission is prioritize finances and revenue, safety, and then if we can, outreach and kind of industry development. To the service of those strategic priorities, we discussed that we would like from the Med and Safety Committee, mid and long-term goal recommendations for our committee and obviously for the commission at large. Director Wynn, as she mentioned, will be developing a commission orientation process. Consistency, I think, will be that's going to be a real big improvement for commissioners coming on. It's kind of a steep learning curve and it's exciting, but to have a point-by-point orientation from folks who come from a lot of different backgrounds, it's going to be a good thing. Jockey engagement, I think Connie did a good job speaking to that. Proactively engaging the jockeys, opportunistically engaging the jockeys. And it seemed like pretty good consensus. Feeding the jockeys is a good way to access them if we want their opinions.
They don't eat.
Well, feeding them good food, small portions when possible. Maybe feeding their families too. They come. The last thing is probably the largest part of the conversation. We discussed what I'm broadly going to term youth engagement. That included vet development and recruitment. So we have a right now issue with getting vets, and we have an over the next several decades problem of where the new vet's going to come from. Director Wynn is going to look at reducing some barriers that may exist at the track to recruiting a vet here in terms of just getting the vet to a place where they can spend more time doing vet stuff and less time doing not-vet stuff, which we think may make it more appealing to potential candidates. And then we discussed a meeting that Director Wynn and I had with Anis Montplaisir. Did I butcher that? Did I get somewhere near in the? Thank you. I practiced that in front of the mirror today because it was a challenging looking name and I wanted to try and get it right. We had a really nice meeting with Ms. Montplaisir this morning. Her program Amplify proposed essentially a 2-year program involving a combination of curriculum and on-site programming, mentorship. Questions that were brought up were cost, funding, measurable results, alternative programs. Rather than try to speak to everything we talked about in that meeting this morning, I'd like to invite you to come up and introduce yourself to everyone. Yes, please. And if you could speak to just some of the specifics and what you were essentially proposing, that'd be wonderful.
And just make sure you introduce yourself for the record, please.
My name is Tom Pleasure. I'm the Executive Director of Amplify Horse Racing. Thank you very much to Chair Doherty, commissioners and staff for having me today and time to meet with me this morning. So Amplify is essentially the youth arm of the horse racing industry nationally. This is a program that has never been done before. There have been several pop-up educational programs around the industry. But in terms of having a national youth engagement initiative that can reach youth across the state and then eliminate some of the, across the country, and then also focus regionally and eliminate some of those geographic barriers to be involved in racing. That's exactly what we want to do. So what we propose is a 2-year phase-in plan for Oregon Racing to become involved in youth engagement in the state. So that will start with curriculum adaptation and implementation. Amplify has a high school focused curriculum that we're launching this fall in Kentucky that is geared towards high school students, so grades 9 through 12, when youth are really making important decisions on what they're going to be doing career-wise, what they're going to be studying, and what the pathway is to be getting involved in those careers. And so that curriculum is something that can be delivered to educators so they can teach right in their classes. And then it has an immersive component to it where we would have an add-on field trip experience or a piece where Amplify and other regional partners would be getting involved right in the classroom. And so this is making racing very accessible. It's essentially bringing racing into classes. So we would be adapting that curriculum to be matching Oregon state educational standards to be implemented in high schools, and then to reflect the Oregon racing industry statistics so that we can highlight the economic impact and the ecosystem of racing here in the state. And then it also has a component of equine management, equine science, and then a big focus on careers, because career and technical education is a big thing that educators have to hit on in their classes. So we would focus on hopefully adapting and implementing a curriculum for Oregon here in the state by the fall of 2026. So again, that would have a in-class component and then an immersive component where the students would actually be engaging in the industry. And then introduce a summer extracurricular program in the summer of 2027. So making sure that there are ongoing opportunities for students to continue participating in. Amplify also oversees a national mentorship program. So we would really want to work on training and integrating Oregon-based mentors into our mentorship program. So as we have students who get involved in education, we can then automatically connect them with somebody in the industry who can mentor them on their career area of interest and make sure that we're facilitating that ongoing involvement in the industry. So there are other pieces that are really important too that we would make sure to implement, including teachers have to go to professional development training. So a curriculum like this is something that would be perfect to present at a teacher's professional development workshop. It's a very good package for them to be able to use in their classes. And then as we roll it out, we can look at implementing it in communities around the state that either have a breeding or racing focal point, so that we're getting kids connected to something in their community that's close to them, basically the racing in their community. So that's the overall 2-year plan that we'd be looking at. In terms of some of the metrics for success, it's really important in embarking on a project like this that we would start with strategic planning sessions with industry stakeholders, making sure that we know what the industry here sees as metrics for success and how we can hit on that. A few things that youth engagement like this can really help impact. Careers, first and foremost, I know that workforce is a big important thing. We already touched on recruiting veterinarians. Industry perception. So by getting this in front of students and educators, we can help to positively impact perception. And then having a general connection with communities and making sure that there is a full appreciation for the economic impact that racing has in the state. So those are some of the initial metrics we can talk about. To give you guys an idea of some of the success we've had in Kentucky so far, which is where our office is based. This year alone, which we've had full-time staff in Lexington since 2023. This year, just by engaging with our local school district, by presenting at career fairs, going into classrooms and being engaged at community events, we have directly gotten in front of and spoken to around 5,000 students. And so there's a great saying in the education space that you can't be what you can't see. And I think it's easy to say, well, Lexington is a very community, very saturated with equine industry businesses. You know, racing is very big in the state. But we very quickly saw when we started going to career fairs and having a presence at career fairs that we were the only equine organization that was there. And students can't know that that's a pathway for them if they can't see that in their community. And a lot of times, unless we very intentionally put it in front of them, it's challenging for them to see what those pathways are. So some strategic areas we can talk about measuring, you know, the number of Oregon-based industry professionals we get involved in the mentorship programs, and the number of students we connect them with, how many classes we get this into, the number of teachers reach, the number of students reach. There are pre and post surveys that we can do before and after events that measure different learning outcomes and student perceptions. But I'll just finish by saying there's another great saying, you know, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. And racing hasn't been planting seeds to get youth involved. And so this is a really important start to that, to enforce and ensure the future of our industry by getting youth involved.
Excellent. Any questions, any comments from the?
I would like, so I think today we would like to discuss as a commission, whether or not if funds became available, we would be interested in putting them toward putting this program on in the next 2 years. I think there would be things that the finance committee would need to look at for that and other considerations. So kind of a soft, we'd be interested if funds become available. One of the things that I do like about this program is that it relies on a lot of existing infrastructure, schools, 4-H, FFA, which are already there and in place. So you don't have to build a bunch of buildings. You don't have to.
No.
The amount of money, I think the finance committee should talk to them about the amount of money and things like that. But I do think that in terms of bang for our buck in the long run, this could be a good way to do it without having to build a bunch of infrastructure.
So what we would be looking at is if the commission did want to proceed with this, is we would be looking for, this would require about $25,000, but we wouldn't even look at it until March because we have to have a much better handle on our budget. And it may or may not even happen then, depending on where our budget is and what our needs are.
I'd just like to make a comment that rural areas where you have a lot of 4-H and programs like that, at least in Oregon, there isn't a whole lot of horse racing out there for kids to see and get involved with. So certainly bringing it to them is very important. On a personal note, I was a city kid who fell in love with horse racing from gambling, and at age 18, not
Thank you.
just so you know.
You were legal.
12.
And I went to college as a pre-law student and just didn't interest me. I went to work at Golden Gate Fields in 1974 as a groom, and I wanted to be involved with horse racing. And there was a vet who took care of our horses, and it kind of struck up a conversation, and all of a sudden it opened a whole new world to me to become a veterinarian. And I have a friend in New York, a girl who she raised goats. She was in 4-H and she rode horses. I mean, she's a good horse, horse person. And she was my groom. And she's now in her last year of vet school in New York. And She may not do horses, but the need we have for equine vets, at the very least, I know she'd be a large animal vet. So these are things that sometimes we don't think about, these connections and how people become involved. But I mean, my small world, there's two of us. So, you know, in terms of how we took different paths and got there.
To both of your points, I would like to contribute. I texted a link to your website to one of my educator friends and said, hey, do you have any kids who would be interested in something like this? She said, oh, I don't know. There's horsey people in the county. You should talk. And I said, I know those horsey people. This is specifically for not those people. They already know how to get involved in rodeo and barrel racing and steer and all. This is for the other kids. So I think that just, to me, demonstrates the rift between the marketplace and the labor that we're trying to cultivate.
Okay, other comments, input? First of all, I think this is a really good plan, and I think the reason is there's, it's like any industry, if you don't have people that are kind of, I don't know, groomed, meaning not
No.
groomed, to be involved in different projects and different employment opportunities, it's going to die. And so I think what it is that this is something that at least gives younger folks, some sort of a pathway into keeping the industry going. And I think at that point right there is essential. I like the idea where you especially have engagement with stakeholders, because I think people have the idea that horse people and these kind of things are all in the rural areas and so on and so forth. I mean, Sherwood High School has a great FFA. A lot of the schools in Washington County have Future Farmers for America. They've got Tigard High School, and I don't know if they've got this year, but for years had an equine team. They had a horse team. And so it's not only that in the rural areas, but I think it's also in the suburban and the urban areas, but it also gives kids just one more thing to look at as a profession down the road. And I think that's very valuable. And it looks like that, but obviously the plan has been vetted in Kentucky. And so it looks like it's a very organized plan. And I would suggest that we go forward with it, realizing there's going to be some financial restraints, but at least the idea of placing the idea, I think is a good thing. So anything else?
I think I should bring up,
Yeah.
there were questions about alternatives to this program, cost and efficiency and all. I think it'd be irresponsible not to consider alternatives. I'm not familiar with any alternatives that are in place, ready to go at this stage. But certainly we want to get the most responsible bang for our buck as we try to pursue this goal as we can. So I certainly, yeah.
No, just make a comment that at some racetracks, you'll have groups of either trainers or, like you might say, auxiliary, who conduct tours of the barn area, have them come to barns and look at the horses, pet the horses, feed the horses, watch them getting, prepared, et cetera. Just an introduction to it. I mean, these are huge animals that are intimidating just by who they are. And kids grow up with dogs, they grow up with cats, and only a few people grow up with horses. And I think you got to break that barrier, and it doesn't take money. It takes just some time from people, a trainer, to say, hey, my daughter or my son's at this school. Maybe we can organize a tour, and they come to the backstretch and they do a tour of the backstretch, and kids, all of a sudden, you don't need all 20 of them to say, oh, I want to be a vet. All you need is one or two of them. And another one says, you know what, I think I'd like to train horses. And, so it's, and move forward from there.
This will be having industry participation from
Exactly.
local horsemen, because this structure relies on them being welcoming of and essentially being educators for young people to be involved. We have to make sure that we're ushering in the next generation, and that's going to require working with local horsemen to be mentors, to be volunteers, to be leading programs. So that will definitely be an important part of the process.
And they would be part of the stakeholder group that would get it going. Hey, sounds good. Anything else? Thank you very much. It looks like a great program. It's one that we'll definitely keep on our radar. Okay, anything else on your report?
I don't believe, we don't need a vote. We kind of just have a general consensus
Yeah.
that if money comes available, this is a way we'll consider spending.
And I think it's just one of those things, just kind of pursue it and see where it is. Again, with the idea that we don't have the money, we don't have the program. But I think just kind of looking at it and looking at some of the, talking to some people in the Department of Ed, talking to some of the ed chairs and that kind of thing to find out whether this would be a program that even they would want to pursue. So anyway,
Busted.
huh? I know, we got them.
That's all I have unless anybody has questions for me, Chair.
Thank you very much. Next thing is that Head Check Health Program. Is the person here or?
Can you change the views? So we have head check.
Are they presenting?
Eric, Eric is presenting.
Hey everyone, can everyone hear me?
So you see the person speaking.
Yes, I can hear you.
We
I
can
Now
am
we-
working on that right now, Connie.
See you.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure if it was gonna be me and Chris or if it was just me. I'm
Chris,
fine either way.
quite ill, so.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
Be the boss.
Okay, I'm running the show then. Okay, so everyone's ready to go, I'm assuming?
I'm here. Yeah, I can answer some questions at the back end specifically to
Okay.
Oregon, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep my camera off. I'm sure I look as bad as I sound.
Oh, I can't believe a man, Chris. Good for you.
And we just want to make sure you introduce yourself for the record.
For sure. Okay, thanks everyone. Thanks for your time. Thanks for having me today. So I'm Eric Vanderhelm. I'm with Head Check Health. So we're a software company that makes concussion management technology. I've been with the company for about 5 years now. And I just have a couple slides here, so hopefully you can see these.
We can see.
Looks you can. Okay, so HeadCheck actually started. So we're a software company. We make concussion management software, and we also provide services, which happened in your case as well. We've been around. The company's been around since 2013. It was born out of a research lab. So at the time in 2013, there was a lot of discussion around concussions, how we make things safer. There were some lawsuits in the NCAA and in the NFL. Particularly were the big ones, and a lot of companies out there, including us, were creating concussion tests. And then HeadCheck around 2019, right around the time we actually got involved with horse racing, we made a big pivot in our company, and we changed from making tests to helping organizations comply with the protocols that they set out to comply with for their concussion protocols, essentially. And then we've extended beyond that because of horse racing. So just a bit of background here. In 2019, I had a gentleman named Robert Colton reached out to me. He was at the time, he was the administrator for the Delaware Jockeys Health and Welfare Benefit Board. And they were having a problem between Delaware and Maryland where jockeys were, one jockey took a fall in Delaware and then just drove across the state lines to Maryland to race. They had been told in Delaware that they needed a clearance note for a potential concussion. They went and raced in Maryland. And then after the race, they went to the doctor at the track and asked for a clearance note. And the doctor was like, weren't you just racing? And so that kind of spurred them into reaching out to different companies that were out there in the marketplace. And what they originally wanted was just a way to even be able to share a baseline test, because baseline testing is important in concussion management. For anyone that doesn't know what a baseline test is, it's basically a measure of cognitive balance, different types of functioning, so that you can have an understanding of the way the athlete behaves or scores at a baseline, before they got injured. But it turned out that we could help them with a lot more than that. So we got Delaware and Maryland's racetracks on board with HeadCheck, and we tried to help them with as much as we could. This was during COVID, so it took us a while, but we kept getting racetracks like Finger Lakes and Hollywood Casino and Parks. And then eventually, HISA had been around for about a year at this point. And I think it was just after the Kentucky Derby in 2023 that we started working directly with HISA. And so now we work with a lot of thoroughbred horse racing across the United States. And then in 2024, right around the same time, we were also having conversations with you, National Steeplechase Association came on board with HeadCheck as well. So we've leveraged the insights that we've gained from the industry because we've been in it for, not as long as you all, but we've been around for a few years now in horse racing. And some of the things that we hear is that, and I know that there's nuance here. It's different for every racetrack. Even going back to our very first example, right? Delaware didn't have a track doctor. Maryland did. There's different things going on, but some of the common problems that we hear that we help with is jockeys, you don't know if they're ready to race or not. There's this thing with HISA now, it's called Fit to Ride, because they want to know wherever you are in the country, are you actually fit to ride? Have you signed all your forms? Do you have a baseline test on file? Do you have a physical exam on file? Are you injured? Are kind of like the main ones. And so before Head Check, there was a lot of calling, texting, emailing, trying to figure out about eligibility. You weren't really able to share medical information. So what this could look like is there could be a jockey that's unconscious and you're trying to figure out if they're allergic to anything before you administer medication and you just don't have any medical records. Or documents being incomplete that you want to have on hand, just the lack of standardization and information not being available at the time of injury. So if you look at the marketplace for, how do you go about solving this problem of these problems that I talked about? Like I said, originally when the tracks started reaching out to Head Check, they were like, we want a better testing system. And there's lots of testing systems out there, right? You can go there and you can buy, and I know there's a lot of information on the screen. This is sort of just the competitive landscape, I guess, and trying to position our company here. There's lots of testing tools out there, and then there's lots of electronic health record systems. But having a testing tool to be able to test for concussion and then having a place to put the data doesn't actually mean that you're going to get protocol compliance, because compliance to your concussion protocol is sort of like a behavioral, cultural change that needs to happen, and you need the right tools to be able to do that. So our whole position as a company is that we want to help organizations be compliant to their protocol, because the easiest, the most cost-effective way to make sure that you are protected legally, financially, reputationally, and the athletes are protected, the jockeys are protected, is that you're just following the concussion protocol that you've set out to follow. This is the foundation that you should focus on, getting the data quality and compliance up to a certain level before you ever think about adding, things like, we see all sorts of stuff, right? Like helmet sensors or wearable technology or, other types of high tech. So some of the features that we've provided, and certainly Chris can comment on, which ones are helpful or not, but just a couple examples is we want to make it easy to collect data. So that would be things like this first report of incident here. I'll show you the data from your past season in a second here, but there was 7 incident reports submitted by Oregon Racing Commission. We've integrated with the insurance companies. I'm not sure exactly how well that worked for you in the first season. We can certainly talk about how that went and improving it for the second season here. But collecting the data is really important. If you don't have a good way, a standardized way of collecting the data, then it ends up on pieces of paper, and it's very difficult to do any analysis on it. And then having good access to data about jockeys, fitness to ride, right? Are they ready to go? Do they have their physical exam? Do they have their baseline test? Have they signed their forms? And are they injured? Were like the 4 big ones. So that's just a couple screenshots there. The highlights from this season. Sorry, I guess I should pause to see if anyone has any questions before I go into what your data looked like for the first season.
Any questions,
Commissioners?
commissioners? No, we've got no questions so far.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to be brief. So your data, so how did it go with your first season of Head Check? This was the first year that Oregon Racing Commission started to use Head Check in the same way that a lot of tracks have been using Head Check. And the conclusion that I've drawn from this is that you did very well. You had about 82% compliance, which is, this is a number that I kind of came up with based on, did the jockeys have the required information before they raced? So that was 33%. Did we see expected levels of incident reporting? That was 33% of the score. And then the other third or 33% of the score is, did you clear jockeys that you had marked as injured, basically? So was the loop closed? If a jockey fell off a horse and was marked as needing clearance, was there a clearance on a file? And therefore, did you close the loop on, legal risk in that sense? And you did very well on the latter 2 of those, right? You had expected levels of incident reporting, and you had a clearance note for the one injury that required a clearance note. And then there were some struggles. I think there's some nuance here that maybe Chris can shine some light on here, where a lot of jockeys only raced once. I think we saw about like 75 jockeys, but we only had like 35 baseline tests. So that's where some of these other numbers come from. Head Check allowed you to basically import 31 baseline tests or physicals from existing jockeys that were already in the HISA kind of ecosystem that were coming to race at the track, which if you had gone to try to get those baseline tests on your own or get the jockeys to redo the physical in the state of Oregon, there's costs associated with that, right? And then one of the things that we did this season was that we offered baseline testing as a service, basically. So we found through one of our partners, I'm pretty sure it was I don't know if it was the Portland Thorns or if it was the MLS team that we work with, but we had some professionals do baseline tests on the jockeys virtually so that they could be up to par. And then there was a cost associated with that per jockey. I think it was $37.50 per jockey. We had 22 forms signed, and like I said, you had 7 injury reports. One of them required clearance, and then you had 1 clearance note. So the one thing with the data here is that you're seeing what you want to see, which is a funnel, right? You want to see most jockeys having requirements filled out. You want to see not too many injuries, but you want to see more injuries than you see ones that require clearance, right? Because you want people to be documenting all falls, not just falls that result in catastrophic injuries. And then you also want to be at the bottom of that funnel, you want to make sure that the loop is closed on those injuries that were serious, that required clearance. So you want to see that data kind of taper. And we think that the data actually looks great for Oregon. And then this last slide here is just to give you some perspective. And I know that I can't share HISA data with you, unfortunately, but for example, this is the 5-year progression of HeadCheck's best client ever. And I can't tell you who that is, but they started off with the same sort of compliance metric that I described earlier. They were at about 60%, and they got up to about 80%, which is what we call like research quality data. You could actually run a research study with that level of data quality after year 3. And then most of our clients usually get there in about 5 years. And Oregon Racing was right there, right from the start this year. Because like I said, you had a low number, right? 7, 1, and 1, and a relatively small sample size. But just looking at the comparison here, like I said, I think you did really well. So that's all I have to present for you all. I think you did a great job on the program. I know that it's a small operation compared to something like if you were to look at HISA's data, there's obviously thousands, and there's a lot more information, but we were certainly proud to work with you to improve health and safety and help protect you against potential risks associated with jockey health and safety, and to kind of join us in our mission, which as a company, our mission is to eliminate concussion mismanagement, in this case, also just injury mismanagement as well, which can result from a variety of things. So thanks everyone for your time, and happy to answer any questions or hear any comments from you all or from Chris.
Okay, thank you, because we're going to actually, Chris is going to be at the next meeting and to go through and give more of the information and so on and so forth. But do you, commissioners have any questions right now or any comments? Because I'm kind of surprised that we haven't done this before, because this is a profession that, they fall down and they get hit and, that kind of thing. So I think that, it's something that's, you hate to say fairly new in the NFL, but it's fairly new and in soccer and the NFL and so on. But I think that this is a really good start. And next month, Chris will come in, and we'll get more questions answered and talk about
how it's worked here.
and how we're going to work and how we're going to be doing it. So,
Quick.
Yeah, and up on the screen here, this is something I'm going to send to Chris. It's something I kind of forgot to present, but like I said, small numbers on here, but over time you get more of these numbers, right? And now you can tell where our jockey's getting injured. Is it during the race? Is it at the third turn? And the data starts to get better and better over time. You're starting off at a really high bar, but it's only going to get better with more data. So I'm going to send it over to Chris, and I just wanted to flash this on the screen quickly.
the data on that was very good to see exactly what caused the concussions. So, yes, Commissioner.
Are you collecting any data as to whether helmets are damaged in the incidents that are reported? Is that like a question that's on the intake form? Whether, for example, a helmet was cracked or?
That's a good question. I'm looking at the data here and I'm not seeing anything. Maybe that's something I can take back to the team, where if you wanted us to append that question where it's, was the helmet damaged? I can't imagine that other groups aren't looking at this, but we do have, here I can see a protection worn as a column, and it's mandatory. And you can see that in 5 of the falls, protection was worn, and then in 2 of the falls, it says unknown, is all I can tell you from the data here.
Okay.
Thank you.
I do want to add to that we do, as you remember, have a helmet replacement program.
Yes.
And even if the helmet isn't obviously damaged, they can get their helmet replaced up to $250. They've been a little slow at actually using this program, but we have our first one that's finally submitting his paperwork for it. So it may not be necessary just because of the fact that I mean, it might be interesting to have, but as far as the helmets being, we just assume if they fell and hit their head, they need to replace their helmet.
Yeah, I just was curious if there was any data as to, you know, how often helmets are.
And what helmet they're using. would be
Yeah.
Good too.
Yeah, well, yeah, that would too for.
I don't know if this is a setting or not. I apologize. I'm more on the sales side. I can talk to the CS rep and see if they have further data than what was shown on the report here. But I know that in my comment, because I'm like still talking to HISA a lot, and they talk about this very granularly for HISA, for example. So they know exactly what helmet the jockey was racing. Eventually, they want to start marrying up the head check data with video evidence from the fall and stuff like that. It's just very similar to what we see with our other clients like Major League Soccer. So it can only grow over time, and we can always look for additional ways to help. If there's certain data that you want, we can make sure you get it.
Thank you, that's
Great.
helpful.
Thank you very much. Good program. So we will carry this over till the next meeting to have Chris there, hopefully. And we appreciate the time and also the research that you guys have done on this very much. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks so
Okay.
much, everyone, for your time. I'll hop off now, but have a great rest of your day.
Thank you much. Okay, that ends the old business, new business. First thing, fair meet reports. Is Nate here for the union? Is Nate up there? on
Yes,
Hill?
yes.
Yeah, didn't want to fly, you didn't want to drive in from Union? Okay, so if you could give a report on the union fair meets,
Can you make him big?
pardon?
You're on mute.
Top right of screen.
Okay, still on mute.
You're still
How
on
about
mute.
now? Here we go.
Now.
Okay, we can hear you. Welcome.
Yep, Nate's here. Go ahead. Can we do the report? Yeah. Okay, this report was done by Nate. Dave Billings is my name. I'm reading it. Any reference to I would be Nate. So, Keystone Livestock Show 2025 condensed recap race report. Our meet was held 6, 7, and 8 of 2025, June of 2025. Licensed to run 18 races, filled 18 races. Had 8 thoroughbred races, 36 horses running, 10 quarter horse races, 61 horses running. 0 mixed breed races, 0 horses running, for a total of 97 horses running, 102 horses entered, and with 5 horses scratched during the meet. Mead handle was $52,886, which was up $9,165 from 2024, with same number of races. Public was still anxious to get out and enjoy the event and willing to bet. We had better weather in Union this spring. Was able to grade and work track prior to the meet this year. Let's see, it was amazed how well the crew had the track condition for Friday race day. Our farmer-based crew knows how to work the soil. Was very pleased with the increase in entries compared to 2024. Quarter horses filled 10 races for our condition book entries. 1 more quarter horse race in 2024. Thoroughbred races filled 8 races, 1 less than condition book for 2024. I was very pleased again with service and quality provided by Aaron Jensen. Moonlight Racing Video, photo finish, Kerry Coles, and racing secretary, and always very satisfied with Josie Stavers in true form. Jerry and Josie were always willing to help our meet in any way needed. So this paragraph I'm gonna read now has been updated from anything you folks have got. We updated it the last day or so. Eastern Livestock Show had 14 jockey riders in 2025, up 2 from 12 that rode in 2024. We had 1 jockey incident, but no injuries. Blake Nunley came unseated on home stretch. Told race crew and medic he was fine, received no further attention. Horse, which was Red Stars, injured her front leg, was taken to the stalls after then, and then taken home by the horse owner. Okay, and then let's see. Eastern Livestock Show 2025 had an average field in thoroughbred races of 4.5, average field in quarter horse races of 6.1, and there were no mixed breed races in 2025. ELS had an average purse of $6,208 on Friday, $6,166 on Saturday, $6,708 on Sunday. Total average purse for 18 races was $6,361 for our 2025 meet. ELS had 7 individuals help with racing duties for 25 and 25 meet. Nate Jacobs, Dave Billings, Don Nelson, Emily Sherritt, Jim Clark, Chris Nance, and Carol Smith. East Oregon Livestock Show is planning to repair and remodel jockey interior for the 2026 meet with special funds from ORC. We would like to thank everyone involved with the racing for the summer track meets, ORC staff commissioners, especially Doug Smith, and their staff. OHBPA, OTOBA, and OQHRA and their staff. Eastern Livestock Show 2026 meet will be June 12, 13, and 14 of 2026. Really think the Zoom meetings are beneficial and important to our success. Thank you, Nate Jacobs.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, commissioners? Yes, Commissioner.
Is there live streaming of your races?
No.
Can you do it?
At this time, I'm saying no. I'm working with local internet company to get fiber optics everywhere on the grounds, and I think it would make it in the future possible. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for your report. We appreciate it. Okay, the next report we have from Sora is Rob. We're just glad that Union's finally getting internet service.
Good afternoon. My name is Rod Lowe. I'm president of SORA, Chair Doherty, Executive Director Wynn, and commissioners. SORA had an 8-day race meet this year between 14th, 15th, 21st, 22nd, 28th, 29th, and July 4th and 5th. Our post time went all day. We're at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Weather was great this year. We didn't have to deal with any excessive heat indexes or smoke or any other elements. So we had good weather. Well, we did have one jockey that went down with no serious injuries. We did have one racehorse with a catastrophic injury. Our purses totaled $574,154. We averaged per day purses of $71,769. We had 68 races. We had 438 starters. Out of, we had 30 scratches that would have been starters. one reason or another, the trash out of it. We had 29 quarter horse races. We had 39 thoroughbred races. Our average field size, the quarter horses were 7.34 per race. The thoroughbreds were 5.77 per race. We had attendance of 23,475, almost 3,000 average per day of attendance. Handle was 335,503, almost 42,000 per day. I just want to give a big thanks to SORA members. They work all year long to put this race meet together, and they do a great job for those 8 days. I'd also like to say a big thanks to our stakeholders, the OHBBA, the OQHRA, the OTBOA, for their support in all of these races. They put on a lot of stakes races that helps out a lot in that program. So if you go back and look at some of our numbers on our handle, as you know, the commission puts up $4,000 per race, but our handle is much more than that compared to what is put up. So it's all the stakeholders that put their money up to make these races better for the horsemen. And I'd like to say thank you for the ORC for allowing us to have this meet and all your support in what you do and your staff. It takes all of us to make all of this work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
I would just like to compliment you on how you're using social media and the live streaming that we get from Grants Pass.
Yeah, Grants Pass does go to all of our OTBs. So, and then we have Wager that has our platform online with people that can bet in Oregon. So we have a couple different outlets, and we'd be glad to work with any of the other race meets to help them do the same thing if they want.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that offer.
Yeah.
Because it's technology and we're not all up on that.
It doesn't make a lot of money, but it gives us exposure.
I think
And it's fun to see all the pictures on your social media, so I
That's good. That's good. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, the next Prineville, Doug? There we go.
Chair Doherty, commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. I'm Doug Smith. I'm racing chair at the Crooked River Roundup in Prineville. Our race meet was held on July 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th this year. We had absolutely great attendance, about 23,000 over the 4 nights. It was incredible weather. We were highs in the low 90s, and of course we run a twilight meet, so by 7:30 it had started to cool off a little bit, and it was absolutely very pleasant. And that's about 10 degrees cooler than it was a year ago. And I think that's one of the reasons we saw the crowds as large as they were. I might note that our Saturday was a very, very strong Saturday, but we also have an area just to the southeast of Prineville, and there was a fire, actually, forest fire, visible from the grandstand that was in a neighborhood of juniper trees up there. And so we probably lost an additional 500 or 600 patrons that night that stayed home, rightfully so, to take care of personal interests. It was a pleasure to host Commissioner Fowler on Friday evening. I really appreciated her being there. I hope that she enjoyed the event and saw the excitement that horse racing brings to Prineville, Oregon. We ran a total of 35 races, which is actually one fewer than we had ran in 2024. Our handle for the four days was $309,867, which is a 4.4% increase with one less race. We averaged 77,467 per day and an average of $8,853 per race. On a per race basis, that's an increase of 13.6%. We ran there were 205 starters with 15 horses scratched over the 4 days. That's an average of 5.9 horses per race, which is down slightly from 2024. 13 quarter horse races and 22 thoroughbreds. Quarter horse averaged 7.1 horses per race and the thoroughbreds averaged 5.1 horses per race. Our purses bottomed at 7,000 per race on quarter horses and 7,500 on thoroughbreds over the 4 days, and 35 total races. Our purses were $298,000, which is an average of $8,514 per race. In 2024, our purses were $7,792. So you can see that increase of 9.2% versus 2024. And, it's far above the 4,000 per race in hub funds. And then the additional funding from the Horsemen's Group helps us get there. But the Crooked River Roundup adds a minimum of $1,500 per race that is funded from our earnings and local sponsorships. And so you can see that had a substantial increase or effect on the purses that are offered in Prineville. One of the incredible things that we've sat and watched is how the addition of a new jocks room that was first used in 2024, how that building has changed really life for the jockeys. They're no longer cramped in a small jocks room. It's got air conditioning. When the jockeys immediately come back from the paddock between races, instead of sitting out in the heat, they're now in an air-conditioned environment, and I think it's helped with jockey health and safety quite a bit. The other thing that's incredible is to see how well they take care of it. And we've yet to have one incident where a jockey has done anything other than just absolutely take care of it like it was his own. One of the things we added last year, continue to do this year, and I think has been a hit, is we added a camera, so now people in the grandstand can watch video of the horses in the paddock. And I think, again, you're spreading out. The more the patrons can see, the better the show is for them. Racetrack safety is one of the things that I'm very, very strong on. Our board is very, very strong on. And we've spent a lot of time preparing the track for race week. And I think it showed. We've developed repeatable steps to ensure that the track is prepared in a similar manner every night, every week, every year, so that the equipment's the same, the processes are the same. This year we added the use of the rock picker that was we were able to buy in conjunction with a safety grant from the Oregon Racing Commission. And I've sent video to Director Wynn that shows that in use, but we actually were able to remove, I believe, a dump truck load of 1.5 inch stones out of that racetrack this year with that rock picker. Now, we haven't got them all, and we probably won't have them all by next year. We're working the tracks a full 6 inches deep. It takes about 3 days to accomplish a meaningful process on it, but it was it was amazing to see how 1 year made a difference in it. And the other thing is that from a safety standpoint, it's helping every event that is held on the Crook County Fairgrounds throughout the summer and spring, which includes high school rodeos and pee-wee rodeos and professional rodeos and barrel racing. And they will all benefit from the work we do to prepare the racetrack. If you look at my report, I won't go into it, but I did document the steps we take to prepare our track each year and each night, so that it's in writing. It was interesting. Wednesday night, our races ran a little bit slow, and it just seemed like you were pushing. Every time you tried to get a horse in the gate, you had to push him in. Every time you tried to get horses to the gate, you had to beg somebody to take them. The crowds went through the parimutuel room slow. It was just an uphill battle all Wednesday night. And then we figured out that we were one little thing, which was the length of time we were posting between officials to the next post was 22 minutes. We shortened it to 18. Suddenly, everybody started moving because they had to hustle a little bit. And we went from 11:30 on 8 races on Wednesday to where on Thursday night, we ran the last race at 10:14. We had actually, the first time I've ever seen it, there were no scratches, no rider changes, and every race was to the gate at the posted post time. And I've never seen that. We didn't have a loose horse. We didn't have anything. And it was just totally the opposite of what had happened on Wednesday. We continued that through. Friday night, we ran 9 races. If we'd ran 10, we'd have broke 100,000 in handle for the first time in Prineville, live, as far as live racing. And we averaged over $10,000 in handle on a race, on every race Friday night. Saturday night, we had big crowds despite the wildfire, and we actually did handle 100,000 and then gave back about 4,000 in a late scratch and ended up at 97,000 on Saturday night. But we'll get to 100,000 next year. It'll happen. It was a great race meet. There were no riders. We didn't haul any horses off. As far as I know, there were no major injuries to any animals. We had a great increase in crowd size. It was smooth and rapid racing. The handle was incredible. And I think we sent home a lot of happy patrons. So we're really looking forward to 2026. One thing I want to do is ask for some repurposing of some of the funding that was given to us. And I don't know whether you want me to get into that right now or talk about it later.
We can do it now if you want.
Okay, so our we received a stall lighting grant of $9,500. We were able to source those lights at significantly less than what our electrician has quoted, and we will end up with funds in the area of $4,500 left in that grant, which technically probably would be returned to the commission. On the rock picker, we received $24,246.50, and part of that was to split the freight bill. And I negotiated the freight bill down to nothing. And so there's $1,250 that was allocated to freight that will not be spent. And as I reported, we ran 35 races in 2025. We were funded for a total of 36 races at $4,000 per race. So there's $4,000 left there for a total of $9,750. What we would like to do is to relight our racetrack, and we have basically got it down to the point to where we believe we can put new LED fixtures on our racetrack. There's 23 poles that'll require 2 lights apiece. We've got a source on the lights for about $250 a light. That'd be 2 per pole, and it'll cost roughly $15,000 for the fixtures and $5,000 to upgrade the service boxes, wiring, and mount them for a total of $20,000. What we'd like to do is to take the $9,750 of commission funds that we already hold and repurpose it into that lighting project. The rest of the cost will be borne by the Crooked River Roundup and the Crook County Fairgrounds.
Okay, thank you. Director Nguyen has a question for you.
Not a question, just how I would approach this.
Okay.
Under the
A suggestion.
Yeah,
How's
a
that?
suggestion. I have a suggestion that the best way to do this, to make sure that we've given appropriate public notice, is that you send us a copy of all the receipts showing that you have that extra amount, and that you send us a paragraph on exactly how you'd like to redo it. Because these weren't on the form that we have that says there's not a form piece on there for them to request it. If that works, then that would give us appropriate public notice, so we could make a vote on it at the next
Okay.
commission. And I think you'd like to talk about the lighting a little bit. What are your thoughts on their lighting?
Oh, yes. I want to say how much I enjoyed the races at Prineville, so much so that I stayed a second day. And I also really want to thank Dr. Lombard, who let me essentially be her shadow for most of the evening. I learned so much and I really appreciated it. But from being there, I can say that the lighting could definitely use an upgrade. The backside of the track is, I mean, barely lit, I would say. And it's really hard going up. I went up to the steward's station, and really hard for them to see what's going on back there, even with the video cameras back there. So I think the lighting being improved would be great. I'm pretty sure that you had put in the lighting around the barns when I was there. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, because it seemed like the lighting around the barns was great.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Dunn.
So is there live streaming of Prineville?
No, sir.
Do you have the capability? And with the new lighting, I would think it would be a pretty decent product to look at.
With the new lighting, it would be a better product. We've actually simulcast our races here in Prineville. The only issue we've got is tying up the bandwidth on an outgoing signal while we're also running live with our parimutuel room on the hub in Portland. And so there would be some expense to it. And at this point, we took our efforts and focused them on things that affect our patrons that are paying our bills here in Prineville versus trying to do things for people that aren't at our racetrack. Because there is no way for them to wager on our races if you're off the grounds.
Well, there are the OTBs.
Well, yeah, my question so at the OTBs, is your signal there?
No, it is not.
You'd have to pay the extra money.
Because it looks like with your questions, this is something maybe as a commission, we can look at down the road to see if there's, the different rural areas that we have the technology and the bandwidth and that sort of thing to do it.
Would the commission be interested in him giving us a ballpark in the future on what that would entail to upgrade, to have 2 signals? I mean, we're basically talking 2 signals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Perhaps you can send that information to me at your convenience. Not that we have time to give out today.
Yeah. Because that will not only expand horse racing, but also, I think more publicity to the Union and Prineville and Tillamook and some of
Yep.
these others. So, okay, anything else? Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Very good. Looks like you had a very successful season. Okay, last we've got Tillamook. Steve?
Okay, I'm gonna try to get through this. My computer, for some reason, my Wi-Fi at my house is going in and out, so I'll try to get through it. And if it doesn't work, Connie, maybe we table it for the next meeting, try and get this fixed. But we ran a race meet August 6th or 9th in conjunction with the Tillamook County Fair.
And if you could just introduce yourself for the record, please.
Yes, my name's Steve Smith. I'm the director of racing at the Tillamook County Fair. Our dates were August 6th or 9th. We had an unfortunate start, thanks to Mother Nature. We had rain on Tuesday night. The racetrack, we sealed it. We left the outside portion open. And then as we got closer to post time on Wednesday, we opened the track back up, which I don't know.
Oops.
Okay, I think we lost you. Did we lose him? Oh, there, never mind. Sorry.
We lost 6.
Yeah.
We lost 6 of our 8 races on Wednesday due to the weather and track condition and safety issues. We had discussion with the stewards and the riders. Everybody agreed. Following that, we had a meeting with the commission and the stewards, and we decided that to make up the 6 races that we lost, we would add races to Saturday and Friday's car.
Technology issues.
You know,
One thing I can state is we do have his report in writing.
okay.
So we will forward that to all the commissioners. So you have it. And if you have any follow-up questions, let me know.
Okay,
Since we're
Steve, why don't we do that? Because sometimes the technology is an issue, but we do have your report and we will make sure that all of the commissioners have it. And if they have any questions, they will get back to you. Okay?
I'm not sure. You can hear.
Okay. And with that. Maybe it was Bert.
5.2 starters in our thoroughbred races and 5.9 in our quarter horse races. Again, we had great support from all of our equity partners, the Racing Commission, the Oregon Quarter Horse Racing Association, the Oregon TOBA, and the Oregon HPBA for all their support with additions to our hub funds to make our purses for the meet at a record level. We ran a $10,300 thoroughbred race, which is a record on Friday. We ran $11,100 quarter horse maturity on Saturday. Our handle, of course, Thursday was $5,100. We only had 2 races. We were at $36,313 on Thursday, $53,040 on Friday, and we set a record for the first time in Tillamook. We went over $60,000 on Saturday, but you got to put an asterisk with it because we had 11 races and we normally run 9. So again, we got the card in. It was a little untraditional the way we did it. We were unfortunate. We had one catastrophic breakdown, a quarter horse race. Just a horse got hit from the side. We followed the protocol. We had a little bit of an issue because it was Saturday. We got the horse to Oregon State and they didn't have any room. So I've got that down as a note for future business that we'll need to address and come up with a better program for that to get that cleared up. And then in the last race, or the 9th race that day, we had a horse get loose during the post parade and jump a rail and damage his shoulder. The state vets determined the horse was salvageable. The owners made the decision then following the races to put the horse down. We also transported that horse to Oregon State. We had some mutual connectivity problems with our totalizer company changing the system, and we didn't have enough capacity in order to run all of our mutual machines. That's another thing that we'll get addressed in the upcoming year. We were able to get through it, and we finally got a workaround, so that allowed us to conclude the race meet. Again, just we had some real issues, kind of like Doug talked about on Wednesday night. You have Friday, everything went as smooth as could be. We had 0 issues with the mutuals. We get Saturday crowd there. We have just, it seemed like things took forever. We didn't have any riders hurt, which was a positive. And we had really great attendance, great music. The fair was well attended. And we look forward to our dates for 2026, which will be August 5th through the 8th. And we appreciated seeing all the commissioners there. It was really nice to see them come and experience what we go through. My tip of the hat to Dr. Alice. She did a wonderful job there. Again, the breakdown that we had was nothing that could have ever, it was nothing that ever would have been caught in a pre-race examination. So, any questions?
One is Elmore and the other one is.
Okay, any comments, any questions? Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Okay, the next thing we have on our agenda is a discussion of OAR 462-140, blah, 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 race meet license, conflict of interest.
Yeah, I'll have this up. I'm just going to do the mini version of this because we're running over. And there's more to be done behind the scenes. But one of the things I've been working on, this is very traditional for smaller tracks, is you have a lot of people who are working multiple jobs, and sometimes it can cause conflicts of interest. So for example, some of the things that we've done and we're working on just to get you started on this is, for example, we had our steward school, thank goodness, because one of our stewards wasn't able to come this year because of family health issues. So one of our new graduates of that is able to fill in, but they do have occasional conflicts of interest. So we made arrangements to have Jerry Cole step in whenever there's a conflict of interest. So the public feels that they're getting a fair shake from our people. Likewise, Terry, our steward, occasionally his daughter will be racing horses. And again, because of the steward school, Kayla is now able, our vet assistant is able to step in and take those races. There's other things that we're looking at. For example, when Dr. Lombard was here, occasionally she has an uncle that races. So she is not able to do any pre-checks for any of the horses that are in that race, not just his, but any of the others that are in that race. So we continue to work on this, and I'll give you more updates as we go forward.
Okay. So that's for next month.
Yeah, as more information comes.
Okay, great, thank you. The next one is discussion and possible approval to begin the rulemaking for, actually, you guys have got it, so licenses for other employees and officials at the off-track wagering facility.
And I can cover this real quickly. I would normally call up, but I don't need to, Micah for this. So what this is we used to require in rule that all people, all employees in OTB had to have a license. That was because at the time, when we first did this, they were actually operating as tellers. And because of the fact that they were operating as tellers and cashing wagers and not understanding, we had to have them all licensed. Now they're all machine operated. There are no tellers there. The only thing they're doing is cashing in a ticket. Okay, the ticket's worth $5. I give you $5. So that's no longer necessary. So this is just putting in rule. So the establishment doesn't have to pay for 10 people to be licensed when they don't need it. It's a very expensive process for them. So that's the rule I'd like you to approve.
Okay, discussion. Okay, is this something that you feel comfortable as to passing on?
Yes.
Okay, would you like to make a motion,
I
sir?
move that we approve the change to Rule 462-200-0360.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Fowler seconds it. Any discussion? Okay, seems like a good cleanup. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the possibly rule is there. Okay, the next thing we've got is, did we already do this?
Yes, we
Yeah.
did. I did my meeting. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I looked at that and I said, whoa, there's deja vu all over
Yeah,
again.
we don't have to do that one.
Okay,
One less thing to do.
yes. And so the next one was the added item.
Coggins.
Yes.
So I keep wanting to say Commissioner Palmer. This is so hard, or Chair Palmer. Dr. Palmer, would you like to speak on this or would you like me to? I would prefer you if you're up to it.
I'm up to it.
Okay,
Hi, Chair Doherty and the other commissioners. I changed my hat for this meeting. So this has, I guess, been a problem. Part of summer is that the Coggins have expired or weren't available on all the horses, and it's a rule that they're supposed to have it every 6 months, Coggins every 6 months. For the
Karen?
race tomorrow, yes?
you need to identify yourself for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Jan Palmer, the current state veterinarian for the fall Grants Pass meet.
Thank
So
you.
for the horses on Sunday, for the race on Sunday, 12 horses, Coggins are already expired. January, February, and March, they were pulled, so they're expired for the 6 months. For the race on Monday, 3 of the Coggins are missing. One is still, one was last year in November of 24, and 9 are expired or will expire this weekend. So my thought is that you consider changing the rule to yearly Coggins, at least for this race meet, to get us through this fall race meet.
So an emergency rule would do that.
Okay.
Discussion and questions.
Discussion.
Why could they not be pulled?
Well, they
Now.
can. They can be pulled now.
Does this meet the requirements for an emergency rule?
If we don't think they can do it, if it's gonna jeopardize racing.
Okay, is this something that?
You'd like my personal feelings, I think that a year is sufficient, at least at this point in time. There have been outbreaks, but not in this state or in Washington, surrounding states. So I think we would be fine to extend it as an emergency rule, get us through this race meet, and then revisit the question. You could revisit the question in October.
Well, I'd just like to point out there have been cases in California that did not involve Alamitos Racetrack.
Right.
You know, we've made this rule and we've given horsemen plenty of time to comply with it. And there's just no reason why anyone would have come here without having a Coggins. It was for 6 months. We made it clear. And I just think that it's typical, poor housekeeping on those trainers' parts.
Okay.
Well, I don't disagree, but it's also who's enforcing the rule. You don't have a dedicated gate person to check the Coggins as they're coming in. You have horses hauling in on Saturday or Sunday morning, and there's no one there to check them. So if you're going to make the rule, that's great. I was part of making the rule in the first place, but this is always the issue, is who's going to enforce the rule?
Okay. Other comments, questions?
Comments. That's why we're back.
Well, wait.
We need to go to the public table. Just so you know, you're at the commission table.
Yeah.
She wanted to be a commissioner.
Twyla Beckner, current stall stable woman at Grants Pass Meets and this year the association steward. My feeling with the Coggins, the things I've heard is that, especially in Oregon where you're only racing basically 7 months. A lot of the people that are staying in Oregon only go to these little Oregon, Washington meets. So, and a lot of the Coggins are digital. So they'll text them, they'll email them, like a lot of these Coggins that you're seeing on the list are in there. We just haven't put it in the database yet. A lot of them have been. So it's you're getting information before that's not most updated information. I would revisit it this going back to the 1 year because most of these people are coming right from the farm. So their argument is two things. They can't get a vet because there's a shortage of vets. And then they're coming straight from their farm. They're all healthy. Then they ship in here and they want to get it as soon as they get onto the ground, which is against the rules. So they'll go to the farm right next door, get the Coggins, and then a lot of these vets, especially here, can't get them back for 2 weeks. Vets will check them, they appear fine, they look healthy. I don't know how you get arrested. But maybe you can do it across the lines if they're shipping from California or from Washington where there is a vet on and then they can ship directly from. Because usually you have to have it for shipping anyway. But the problem comes when these people are shipping in the farms. It seems like it's really hard for them to get it.
But haven't most of these people been racing on the fairs?
Yes, and most of them do have it. There's probably a handful that don't, but you're gonna run into that case too, where they're gonna expire October 1st. And I'm already at the track, and will that suffice to get through the meet? And we've agreed that, yes, it will. You don't have to pull another comment
Yeah.
for weeks.
Right.
The horses, a lot of the horses were, there's a few outliers, like I said, November of last year, a couple in January, a couple in February. Most of them pulled them in March. And that was probably poor planning because, if they had just waited another month, then they would have cleared this race meet.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I would Emerald Downs, if they had pulled it just before Emerald Downs began, they'd be good through the rest of the meets here. So it's,
No.
yeah, end of April.
Yeah.
So really, I'd hate to see horses scratch because of it, but, if we hadn't have given, we made this rule back when?
Way back before COVID.
Yeah.
No,
No, the 6 month we did.
we went back to a year and then we just went back to 6 months.
With the outbreak in Texas.
Yeah, about that time.
Well, Los Alamos.
Okay. So where are we right now? I'm confused.
We have somebody else who'd like to give public comment.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this?
Lombard has our hand raised.
Okay. Well, we'll hear from Dr. Lombard.
This is Dr. Lombard, veterinarian for the record. I support an emergency rule for this right now. I think there's much more discussion to be had. But I also want to recognize that Oregon State and their health department has made the 1 year rule for Coggins for horses transporting in and out of state when it used to be 6 months. And we changed it to 6 months for the racetrack for reasons. But in this moment, I think an emergency rule to allow these horses to run through October with the understanding that we have a bigger discussion about this moving forward is appropriate.
Okay, so it's only run through October and they have to be licensed by then.
I have a concern about consistency. Last month, we reviewed a matter where, we provided essentially a grace limit on a medication and we wanted to take that away. And we thought about making an emergency rule about it. We said, no, we made the rule. Everybody had ample notification to comply with the rule. And there are people who did comply with the rule, and it's not really fair to those folks who complied with the rule. And it seems that it might incentivize people to go, I can be sloppy when I'm dealing with Oregon racing. And I'm just concerned about that. I want to see horses running. And also, I don't want to send a message.
Yeah, the only concern I have, I completely understand why both doctors are in support of an emergency room for the rest of the session. The only concern that I have is we made everybody drop everything in Union and go and get them. And when was at the beginning of the season, we would not let anybody race without it. So.
And Tillamook, we did it, Tillamook too.
And in the spring meet here, so. And we've had posted at all these places. So it is a little challenging to say that we change it now. I understand it. And I'm not the one that gets a vote, but I just wanted to point that out.
It was on the stall applications, wasn't it?
Was on the, It was on the stall applications as well as a condition.
And they get reminded, say what they're gonna say.
Commissioner Peller.
I feel like if we forced the issue for the people racing in Union and Tillamook, why aren't we gonna force the same
Yeah,
issue?
I think it needs to be a real
I think-
emergency if we're gonna change things midstream. When we decided this stuff for the season, and whether we decided it correctly or incorrectly, and we found areas where we wish we'd done things differently. Everybody got the rule book for the season, and I think we need to be consistent, even if in hindsight, we would do differently.
Particularly if we made people do it
Mhm.
before Union and before Tillamook. It's not really fair to let people pass.
Okay, so it's, I get the impression that we're not necessarily in favor of doing this
Correct.
as a commission.
That doesn't mean that the commission may not choose to look at that after the session.
Sure. Yes, we can look at, we do have somebody, I believe you want to testify on this, sir?
Jerry Coles, racing secretary. I'm just confused a little bit about it. So are you saying that if a horse has a Coggins that was within 6 months and say it expires on October 5th, he's got to go get a new one, even though he hasn't left the grounds?
No.
So you're not saying that? Okay.
No, I think you're saying that there's a new list, like I've been getting every race day, all those horses.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll go to Jerry and be like, hey, what happened? Because I've forgotten them or I've emailed them to Mary and I'm thinking that they're just not getting updated. Like
In the system.
in the system.
So to speak to that, if I may.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you. I think what we're saying is that if they're valid, if the Coggins is valid at the beginning of the meet,
Mhm.
but expires during a meet, then they can go through the end of the meet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's expired
Is
before.
that how the rules, how is the rule worded? 'Cause we want to be consistent with the rule as written.
Oh, okay, so we can't do that if we don't use the rule.
What,
Commissioner.
I don't know. I'd like to look at the wording because in reality, if someone is current on their Coggins when they step on the grounds and they haven't left the grounds,
No.
The thing is, a lot of people take them off the grounds for
Yeah.
treat another thing.
Well, so
And
that's.
we have no way of knowing if they come off the ground.
yeah,
Pardon?
The ship in and out.
right.
No, it's not just that though, Jerry. We have a number of people who take their horses off for different treatments, or they take them home at night, or we don't have any way to know which horses have left and come back because of security here.
And I just get the impression as a commission, we're not comfortable with changing the rules and making an emergency right at this
If
moment.
it's not an actual emergency.
But I'm not comfortable either with having somebody that's halfway through a race meet not be able to complete the race meet. I don't think that that's fair either. And if that means that we have to do an emergency rule just to get through the rest of this season, I think that's, I have a hard time justifying just kicking
Well,
someone
is it
up in the
something,
middle of a race.
is it something to, absolve them, not have them do it for a year? Or is it something that, if you're in the middle of a race meet, you have 2 days or 5 days or whatever?
But
or
they
just
can't
to
do
get
that
them.
if it takes 2 weeks for the results
Yeah.
to
Well,
come back.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused because I have not practiced in Oregon, so I don't know. But I believe OSU
They can do it same day.
does stat Coggins. And I think if you want to race, get that Coggins over to OSU. I mean, there are ways of doing it. And I mean, we used to go through this all the time, the emergency Coggins.
Yeah.
May I?
Go ahead.
If we don't pass an emergency rule, will the meets still continue successfully?
Sure.
She said no.
If we don't pass an emergency rule, will there still be a meet with horses running and people will have fun and it will be considered a successful meet?
But now, just to clarify, a lot of the horses that we're seeing on the list do have
Do have-
Coggins, they just haven't been entered yet.
So
It's
it's,
not near as bad as it looks.
No.
so it's just the horses that don't have that would not be able to race.
Correct.
Okay.
Do we have an idea?
Sorry.
would be scratched if we didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry. Can I speak?
Please.
According to the current horses that are entered for tomorrow, 12 horses would be eliminated.
Based on Encompass entries. So
Yep.
there may be papers in the office that we haven't seen.
That's right.
On that,
Thank you.
there was, I think, 16 horses on the overnight for Sunday that the papers weren't here yet in the
Okay.
office.
My question is, why didn't they do their paperwork before they came up here?
Technically speaking, we're not supposed to let them on the property until they have their coggins.
The horses might not be there yet.
I disagree with the notion that it's okay if they're already on the grounds, because how do you know what's happening? I mean, a needle could be introduced that's been contaminated, you have no idea. So, I mean, I think if you, my opinion is that if you say it has to be every 6 months, then it has to be every 6 months, whether they're on the grounds or not on the ground. Yes, it's not a difficult test to run, but you've got to get a veterinarian out there, and then you've got to send it up to OSU or to the state lab. You know, and unless you're going to have a courier bring it up to Wilsonville, you know, it is going to take more than just a couple days.
Okay, Nelson?
My name is Leah Nelson. I'm Executive Secretary of the Oregon Quarter Horse Racing Association. My question is, we have 4 trials tomorrow for the Far West, the Far West Futurity. Are any of those horses that are in for tomorrow, are they Far West Futurity horses?
Well, they are, because a lot of those, there's like 8 of them that the papers. that-
To answer your question, yes.
papers are-
Because we don't have the papers yet,
No.
so we don't know.
Usually when they come in, they bring the papers and the copies.
And when they ask for stalls, I ask them, you have your papers and your copies, correct? Oh, yeah, have everything we have. And then I either verify it when I get here, depending on what hours they come, or Jerry sees it before I do.
So according to these 8 people, they know they have to have coggins with
Yes,
it.
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And they'll bring them in with their horse papers tomorrow.
And,
because they're not here yet.
okay, so the horses are not here or the papers aren't here?
Both.
Okay, well, then
They'll get here tomorrow morning.
they bring their papers. I mean, that's how you always do it when you ship.
99% of the time, they got the coggins with them.
Yeah.
And on these lists so far that you guys, because I will usually get a weekend list or a daily list, how many have scratched for reading so far because they have not had coggins?
I don't think we've had any,
This is.
we've had any scratch because of, because of coggins.
I think there was one at Tillamook. Other than that,
They've all managed again.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have horses in this Futurity that are from Utah and Idaho and California. So they're not always here until the trials.
But they should know the rules before they come in.
but they should know the rules and they should be entered in the system, and they're not. And there are some red flags for tomorrow for the fraternity, for sure.
Let's stop. If you have a comment, please raise your hand for us to call on you. Jan is actually referring on this, so she certainly can. Other than that, please raise your hand so we can call on you.
Okay. Okay, so where we are right now is I think we, as commissions, we're uncomfortable with changing the rule, having an emergency rule right now. And we realize that there are some horses that won't be able to race, but the rules, from what I understand, have been made very clear. They're very clear on timelines, and it's ones that, you know, it's the same sort of thing. If my driver's license is going to expire, whatever, I'm not going to wait over here to go through and renew my driver's license. And so, you know, I feel uncomfortable making an emergency rule, even though I know it will keep some horses out of races. They know the rules. And you're saying that most of the people bring their papers and everything else.
And it sounds like something we're certainly willing to review for next season. We just don't want to we don't want to change things midstream.
Okay, Karen?
Administration for the agency. If we go forward exactly as we are right now, what does this mean to those horses? They have to leave? They have to not race. They get fined and continue racing. What are we going to do?
So if you are on the grounds and you don't have a Coggins, first of all, you shouldn't be here, but if you show up and you don't have a Coggins, then you need to leave, go up to OSU and get one. It'll take you a couple hours to get up there and back. They can get the results the same day, or just take your horse home. I would think in most cases they'd want to go, oh, that's what happened at Tillamook. We had 2 or 3 horses go up to OSU. Follow up?
If we have sound or south side do the test and somebody designated to run the labs, could we do that? To just run the labs to OSU?
Jan? Did you
I'm
hear
sorry,
that?
say that. I couldn't quite hear that. Can you say it again?
If we have south side run all the tests, run all the labs,
Pull the
do the
blood.
testing. And have a designated person to run them to OSU, just take them all and then take them and go to OSU, could we get
Yeah,
that?
I mean, you can certainly do that. I mean, I think you just have to define what the commission needs to define what they're acceptable in or what their priority is. I mean, technically, the horse shouldn't be on the grounds if it doesn't have a Coggins.
No, they shouldn't. They should leave.
That's the standard.
Yeah.
until-
Right.
Who's got a
I
hand up?
mean, and to get to Jerry's point, okay, if they're coming in and they do have the Coggins, but they just haven't gotten to the race office with it or whatever, well, when does that happen? And when are they entered into the database? So that someone like me who looks at the database can say, okay, they all got their Coggins and they're all current.
So before we take Dr. Lombard, do you want to answer that question, Jerry?
Well, we did, when the papers come in, we try and put them in there right then, and then put the date of the Coggins and confirm.
So somebody shows up at 10 a.m.
Mhm.
and they have their horses and you show them where it'd be stalled, right, Twyla? Then you make sure they have their papers then, or do you just trust them to go to the test barn? How's that work?
Well, they usually would unload their horses, get settled in, and then come to the race office and bring their horse papers and their Coggins.
Which it should be.
The other way around.
So I
Yeah.
printed this report for Sunday, first thing this morning, or not first thing this morning. First thing for this morning for me is usually 10 o'clock. There's
You're-
dates in January, February, March. The Coggins are expired.
So just send the list to Beckner and I'll text the trainers. I mean, maybe next year we could even have them text or email the Coggins.
That's what we're talking
before
about
they come, before it can be-
That's really what we should probably
Yeah.
be doing.
Yeah.
That's better for everyone. is-
Commissioner Stein?
That's part of the stall application.
Are there you're talking about the Far West Futurities, do they just enter or there are nominations?
No, they've been paying nomination fees since.
Okay, and they entered Wednesday, I think. Okay. I do think we need a system whereby upon entry that that their Coggins is either emailed or, old technology, sent a courier or a pigeon or something. I mean, just so that it's in there before race day. So that,
I think that's fair.
Okay.
And I think that's totally doable because most of the Coggins now are digital anyway.
Right.
so
I think that's something that as a commission staff can work on. As I say, I still feel that I'm uncomfortable with making an emergency rule for this week.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. You need to come up,
I think she had her hand up first.
Okay.
Dr. Lombard.
Dr. Lombard.
And then after that, Leah, and then
The person in the back there.
that person in the back.
Okay.
Okay,
Dr.
so
Lombard?
it's Dr. Lombard, just to answer the question that was asked, what we did when there were horses that were past the 6 months, they thought they had to be within a year at meets recently. The on-site veterinarian pulled the blood, was a USDA accredited veterinarian that signed the paperwork. There was a courier that took it to Wilsonville to the state lab. The state lab ran it the same day. Also, the state lab is only open Monday through Friday. So that's worth considering in all of these emergency considerations. But that is how we dealt with it at past meets when there were concerns.
Why did I think OSU?
Because they do have at OSU, I
Yeah,
think,
I
don't
thought they
they?
had LSU too.
Oh,
where they-
OSU doesn't have the diagnostic lab to run the Coggins.
That's right.
Nothing like that.
And if you all show up at OSU with your horses, there's going to be a little mayhem.
Good luck.
Okay, Ms. Nelson, and then,
I just want to be clear here. So if you're not going to change anything, then do our horses, I guess my horses, get to run in the trials tomorrow after they paid $1,250 to get into this race? And we have 4 trials. And they're running for an $85,000 purse in the finals. And you're gonna keep them from running after they paid all the money.
well, why didn't, my question is with something like this, they should know the rules before they do this. And so I think that, I'm not quite sure the kind of message it sends as, well, if you've paid, we'll let you go, kind of thing. But I think that they need to follow rules because apparently that I'm not, I don't know what, to me also, I don't know what Coggins is, but I assume it's a test to make sure that the horse is healthy.
Simple blood
And
test.
that kind of
Just
thing.
simple
So that's where I'm concerned. I mean, I realize that we're talking maybe, 2 days from now, it would go away. And I don't know if you want to have an emergency that the rule goes away tomorrow or day after tomorrow or Monday.
The question is,
Yeah.
we've had this rule in place all summer.
Yeah.
Why didn't we talk to these horsemen beforehand? Do you have a way to contact them and ask them?
Yeah, I do, but I just think they're all gonna be okay. It's just not in the database.
Well, they probably will be all okay, but that's really not the issue. The issue is this is a rule. And you could just waive it for the weekend if you want to, say, okay, let's give everybody a fair break. Did you advertise this rule well enough? Is it marked well enough? Can people, access this or are people not accessing it? I mean, Leah, when you send out for your, for charities, is it in there?
No, there, I don't think on our, see, I have to build the book, in November. And it's printed in December and it's given out in the first part of the year and all the nomination forms are in there. But, this year in the 25 book, there wasn't anything
Okay.
in there about,
Okay. And then we also have the gentleman in the back first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gentleman in the back first.
A gentleman in the back first, speak loudly.
I'd like to speak louder, yes, I would.
Thank you.
Ron Sutton, president of the Oregon HCPA. But what I would like to see happen, whatever you do today, is discuss this rule after the meeting and try to get consistency with the jurisdictions around us. So it's a year. You made a comment about the people at Emerald, if they, got the Coggins in March. Well, there's a lot of those people that turn their horses out for the winter and they might bring them in February and say, okay, I got out of here.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, for this game, their Coggins is back. So I think we really need to discuss that after this is all said and done, whatever decision you make today to change it and be consistent with the jurisdiction.
And I think they actually have that on the medication.
Okay. Karen? A little louder.
Yeah, way louder, Karen. Use your mom voice.
I'm just, can you repeat the number of horses that are out of compliance this moment?
We don't know. That's one of the
No.
problems.
No, I just counted them. There are, on my piece of paper I wrote it on, for the race on Sunday, 12 of the horses are expired. Now, I don't know, I didn't cross-check what races they're in, but I'm sure some of them are for charity horses. For the race on Monday, 3 are completely missing. I think so. If they can't provide a Coggins before Monday, then that I think is a no-brainer. They should be eliminated.
Here, were to test positive, they would shut the meet down.
And 9 are expired or will expire.
Karen, a lot of them will bring their Coggins with them. It's just not in the system yet.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we just don't know who they are, right?
No.
Don't know.
I mean, presumably the ones that have a current Coggins date, well, we already know they have a current Coggins date, so they provided the information.
Okay, I'd say staff, we are hesitant about bringing this rule up because people are going to be bringing it. I think people ought to follow the rules. This is, from what I understand, if they do test positive for this, it could shut down the entire races for the rest of the week or the month or the whatever. So I just feel hesitant to let people not follow the rules on a health issue with a horse that could affect the other ones. That's just my personal opinion.
It's not it's not so much the health issue for that individual horse. It's the risk of contamination. So EIA is spread through needles, dirty needles. It's spread through flies, which of course there are plenty of those. So it has to be, it's not respiratory. It's not, touching feces or anything like that. So it's not that the horses are necessarily sick. They aren't generally sick. They're become extremely anemic. They probably wouldn't perform very well in the first place.
I believe we have one other person
Okay.
want to come up to the table and, you guys want to give them room?
Would you vote no?
I thought this was going to be a boring meeting.
Would you vote no? Would you vote no?
Yeah.
From a racetrack standpoint, I really don't want to jeopardize any people not being able to race. But at the same time, I recognize the commission's concern and I recognize it because I've been down this road before. I had a positive test at this racetrack. It was before the race meet started, but it did shut us down. It did cause the state to come in and examine horses in the area of the other horses. We didn't have any other issues, but it was a 30-day process. So whatever your decision is right now, we will take it ourselves and we'll deal with it ourselves. And we'll get, if horses have to be scratched, they'll have to be scratched.
Yeah,
Whatever your decision is, I would love to have us stay, but at the same time, I have the same concerns. I don't want to have a horse come in that has a positive on a cause.
Okay, thank
I
you.
appreciate that.
Okay,
And this commission wants to see horses run.
yeah.
We don't like saying, oh, no, we can't. We got the rule in place. I think that's what it is. We don't
Yeah.
just how much.
Okay, so we're in a dilemma. If we bring it up, it's gonna fail. And so this might be just something that we, I don't know if you want a motion that we just table this until later and we're not gonna be dealing with an emergency.
It sounds like something for the safety.
Okay,
Medication committee can
take
take
up.
it up.
Yeah.
Medication safety
Switch over
take up
to
later on.
medication being, it's already on your agenda for medication, isn't it?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think we're gonna deal with this issue at this meeting at this time. Okay, but I appreciate your concern in bringing it up and this kind of thing. And it's not gonna go by the wayside. We're gonna deal with it quickly, but I just think it is not a good idea, especially with this sort of circumstance, to not have people follow the rules that are very, very important. Period. And I think what it is we will make sure that everybody knows what the rules are, even if we have to tell them 4 or 5 times. Okay, are you guys comfortable with that or? Okay, we still have more things on our agenda.
Wait.
Yeah.
What?
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah. Feel mixed about it, but I'm
Yeah.
all right with it.
It's mixed, but we're still going down, so.
Yeah, everybody else is against it.
Misty, I give you one of those. No. Okay, so where are we? Public comment? Because we still have public comment. We have some contested cases, just,
They're referred cases. It's not correct on there. They're referred
Okay.
cases.
What it is what we have for the rest of the afternoon, and we are running a little over. There's public comment, but then on these, Stewart's ruling to refer, to have the Oregon Racing Commission deal with 2 complaints on people, we will be going into executive session for that. And so then we'll come back out and go through and deal with, if we have another executive session, public comment, and then another executive session.
So I just wanted to, Rod Lowe, CEO of HRA LLC, the race meet that's happening now. I wanted to give you just a quick idea how this race meet is going and what we're doing so far. So far in 25, we've had an attendance of 5,535, which is down just slightly from 24. But the reason being is the first day, we had a challenging weekend the first weekend. We had air quality issues on the first day that delayed us an hour. Then the next day we had thunder and lightning, and the lightning delayed us of 30 minutes to an hour. We had rain, and we had all the elements of dealing with that. So, but saying that, the handle still was 71,606 compared to 65,850. So we're up 5,756 even with that. Purses so far, we've spent $240,900. Last year was $236,350. So we're up $4,550, 2% of that. Starters, we've had 201 compared to 192. So we're up 9 horses there. Field sizes is up. We're at 6.28 compared to 6. So just wanted to give you a quick update of how this meet's going. It's going very well, even with some challenges and some issues, but it's going really well.
Okay, thank you.
One last thing, if you have a chance and you haven't seen Speedy, I want to tell you about Speedy. Speedy was a figure that was over at the Flying Lark. We've got some pictures with some of the commissioners with Speedy, I'm sure. He has been relocated to Grants Pass Downs, and he is in the front with a beautiful mural behind him. And thanks to SORA, the OHBA, HRA, and other donations, we were able to put that whole thing together. So go take a picture with Speedy.
Okay, take a picture with Speedy. Okay, thank you. Okay,
Start.
Mike? Yes.
Good afternoon, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Mike Caboose. I'm the presiding state steward for the Oregon Racing Commission. And the reason I'm up here is because I sent 3 referrals to the commission for drug positives. These are Class A penalty type violations as recommended by the RTC, adopted by the ARCI. And they are for one, we will ruling number SC 25-045 that was issued on July 11th, 2025. And 2 for Ricardo Morales Santos, one being SC 25-046 issued on July 12th of this year, and GPD 25-054 issued on September 4th this year.
Okay. For us to discuss this, we need to go into an executive session. So we're under the ORS that deals with an executive session. I'm calling an executive session. They will come back and resume.
Kelly?
Oh, sorry, yeah, so these are under the umbrella of contested cases. So this is a contested case deliberation. It's actually not an executive session.
Okay.
This is deliberation to discuss the proposed penalties. So it's different. We'll just deliberate, come out and vote, and then we'll go into an executive session. So different terms of art. I just want to make sure that's clear for the record.
So
And
we
so
are-
you,
And
Yeah.
we come back and we have to, then do we have to, after we come back, after we discuss this, do we have to come back and then go into an executive session and leave again?
So for the penalty, we go into executive session.
yeah, no,
But he thinks, okay.
no, it's not. It's sorry. It's not an executive session. Sorry. I have to be very clear on the terms of art. We are going to go into a deliberation to discuss the proposed penalty. And once you have discussed that, we will come back into open session and you will vote on what, what that will be. And then once you're done with all of this under the umbrella of contested case, my understanding is that you also have potentially an executive session matter, which is completely different from this.
Is the deliberation without people?
I'm sorry?
Is the deliberation public or non-public?
The deliberation part is not the actual sort of deliberation. So I think if the steward has facts about the cases to present to you, he would do that in public meeting. It's just the deliberation about what the proposed penalty will be if it is different from what the stewards proposed. So any factual information should be on the record, and then the deliberation is where you have everyone leave the room, where you are just deciding amongst yourselves whether you want to propose a different penalty, as is your right under the statute.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, one question. One of these is an appeal along with the referral. Does that make a difference?
The appeal happens afterwards because it was referred to us.
Right, so because you proposed a referral to potentially change the penalty, you know, if, and here's sort of the hypotheticals, if the commission decides to propose a different penalty, they will receive hearings rights. If the commission decides to keep the penalty as what the stewards propose, then the case ends. It just stays as is, and you know, there was no appeal, so it's done. But if the penalty is proposed to be different, higher, then the person would get hearings rights to contest that.
Okay, you get that?
Yeah, so he's supposed to say a bunch of stuff and then we kick everyone out.
You want to walk us through the,
Go ahead and tell us about these cases.
Yeah, tell us about these cases,
Okay,
and then we will go through and go into well, it's not an executive session, we're gonna call it something else. and
Deliberation, yes.
Talk about, deliberate the penalties.
okay. I'll start with Juan Leon, the earliest ruling of the season.
Juan Leon.
This is a Class A penalty. And according to the recommended penalties by the RTC that the RCI adopted, third offense is a minimum of 5 years suspension absent mitigating circumstances. Now, we found no mitigating circumstances. Okay, the minimum fine is 50,000. Up to a maximum of 100,000. Well, we of course can't approach that at all. Right now, our rules state we can give $365 and $500 fine.
Which
and of course the loss. It's required by statute. Any questions on that?
So one thing you can't explain is what the commission can do beyond that. At the commission level, we can give a
In
little.
this case, I would go with revocation.
Well, just
that way, when they reapply and put it in the date that they're eligible to reapply, and then they have to step through the steps from the what's in the 130s tail end of it, 0070, and it talks about license reinstated for verifications done through. That means that after whatever time amount that you give them, they still have to step through these hoops, and it's several pages long about proving that there should be granted the license.
All right.
And I think I have a little bit different take on the next two that I've got, but I would go with the revocation on this one. And max out the fine to $1,000.
That's a month.
Commission can give. And a revocation with the end date, you know, where they can reapply it at such time, right?
Questions?
And you are you looking at a year? What kind of an end date thing are you looking at?
Well, the penalty calls for 5 years. So this is the third violation, actually it's, but, about 10 years ago, he had two back-to-back clenbuterol positives on the same horse. When he ran back a week later, the results weren't handed out yet. So we just wrote the one ruling. And because he hadn't had a chance to correct his behavior, we considered it one penalty.
Okay, thank you.
But according to this, it's third lifetime. In any jurisdiction.
Yes, Commissioner?
Yeah, So there was a positive in the blood back on, as the way I read this, in the blood in 2015. So you're saying that's his first violation?
2015 was his first.
First, okay. The second one listed was only in the hair sample, from what it says here. And that's my question, that he was suspended for the hair sample. I mean, personally, I'm not a believer in the hair sample in terms of 14 days, you know, and that kind of thing.
Clenbuterol at all, period,
In court horses.
in core horses.
Even in the hair. Because going to the rule, that's all I'm looking at, is that that it's not to be present in the blood or serum.
We need to change our rule.
I mean, because
If it's not to be in a horse at all, then their hair is part of the horse, and so
But-
it's in the horse if it's testing positive for a hair test.
but the rule, as I read it, under clenbuterol, the use of clenbuterol shall be permitted under the following conditions. A test sample shall not exceed 2 picograms per mil of clenbuterol in the blood or serum. If no blood or serum was taken, then the next part talks about all horses entering an official quarter horse race will be subject to testing by any biological method, including but not limited to hair, blood, or urine. But I don't see anything there that says that they are, if they're positive in the hair, but no blood or serum. So I'm confused by how the rule is. I mean, if you could point out to me that in our rules, that if it's positive in the hair, it's a positive no matter what.
I wanted to ask a question, but I also want to respond to that because I'm looking at ORS 462-415, which says if they possess in their system detected by any of the testing methods approved by the commission or customarily employed in the testing of urine, saliva, blood, or other samples from racing animals.
Okay,
So I think that statute right there gives us the authority.
And
But-
that's the statute as opposed
but-
to the rule.
Correct.
but
The
the,
statute is higher.
but the problem for me is the animal possesses in its system. I don't believe hair is in the system.
I think that the scientists that test hair would 100% disagree with that.
I don't think so.
Time
I
out.
don't think so.
And that is something that would need to be actually ruled upon in a ruling thing. Yeah, I would assume.
So can I
Right.
please ask
Oh, sorry.
one question?
Sure.
So if there
Kelly-
was,
Kelly has something to say too, I think.
Go ahead, Commissioner Fowler.
thank you, if there was a decision to revoke, do we then, as a body, decide how long they have to wait before they can reapply? Is there a certain
Right.
specific
Exactly.
time period? Or we designate, you don't get to reapply for X
You
amount of
don't
time?
leave it open-ended, but you don't put an end date like you would with a suspension. Revocation is you're just done, you have to step through these steps upon reapplication.
But you could reapply the next day, or you have to wait a year?
You put the date that they're eligible to reapply.
Got it. Okay, thanks. That was my question.
And Kelly.
Oh, I just wanted to point out, I'm looking at the rule regarding clenbuterol. This was the rule, I think, that was cited in the steward's ruling. The first subsection just talks about, I think that's generally, but then the subsection, sub B, says notwithstanding 11A. So, aside from that, so just disregarding that, the use of clenbuterol in a quarter horse racing in Oregon is prohibited. And I don't have the steward ruling in front of me, but if that second horse was a quarter horse and it was racing in Oregon, then it's like the use of it is completely prohibited, and it says all horses entering an American, a quarter horse race will be subject to testing by hair, blood, and urine. So I read 11B to prohibit clenbuterol completely, and it doesn't really limit it to the blood or the serum. So they're written differently. That just to get to Commissioner Stein's question about sort of the differences in the rules. And that's something that I would be arguing at a contested case if it got that far. And that issue was raised. So
Commissioner Barry.
Does Mr. Leone have anything to say or anything to speak for him? Does he have a right to representation right now?
He waived his right to have an attorney present and he was present at the hearing.
At the hearing, but for this proceeding,
He could be on here right now if he wanted to.
right, and this again, this is Kelly Road. This is for the purpose of determining the proposed penalty. This is not actually determining whether the violation has been found. This is just determining whether the penalty that the stewards proposed should be increased or stay the same. Because Mr. Leone has requested a hearing, that it will go before an ALJ if he decides to continue moving forward with the case. So,
Commissioner Stein.
Yeah, JA unforeseen, number 8, finishing third in the 4th race, but was not hair tested due to not yet having test results back for Union. Was he tested at all?
Mike?
What ruling you looked at?
Just on finding of fact, number 8, the JA unforeseen, it says finished third in the 4th race, but was not hair tested due to not yet having test results back from Union. Was he tested at all?
Yes.
Okay, so he,
Not hair tested, but he came back positive in the blood and urine,
with
or blood and or urine.
clenbuterol?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that okay, I'm glad for that clarification.
so we're determining whether we go with Mike's recommendation, assign something lower, or assign something
Which we'll do
harsher.
after we get through all of
Right.
these and dismiss
Okay.
people.
Right.
Except for Micah, who
Yeah.
has to stay and run stuff.
Yeah, as I say, because that is what it is there has been a recommendation here for an order. And when we go into the other room, it was whether we agree with this, when you add to it or reduce it. So,
Yeah, my recommendation again is to get as close to the KRCI guidelines as we can.
Yeah.
And to put a reapplication date on the recommendation.
yeah, and that's the one where it was a $500 fine, $500 suspended for 365 days.
Because that's a max.
That's your,
Yeah, that's our,
okay,
that's why I was.
got it. Okay, that's a recommendation. Okay.
Mr. Morales. Got 2.
Yes.
He had a problem for methamphetamine early in the season and was notified of that. And had another positive, July 5th? Okay, June 8th was the first one. And July 5th was the second. Now, there are 2 different horses here that test positive for the same substance. And this again is a class A penalty according to the guidelines. But he's only got 2 violations within a 365-day period, which is how this, oh no, I'm sorry, lifetime. But it's only a second one. Now, he's had a couple of penalties at class Bs before. That's been some time ago. But the way this reads, they're calling for minimum, the first one would be a minimum 1-year suspension up to 3, and a minimum fine of $10,000. Referral to the commission and loss of tourist.
I don't see the $10,000.
That's what's recommended from the National Association.
Got it. Okay, thank
But
you.
we can't
Thank you
do
for the
Yeah,
clarification.
now the
Can't get that
second one
much.
is
Thank you.
minimum 3-year suspension up to revocation of 3 years. They're saying you can either suspend or revoke. And there's a little bit difference how that, a suspension ends on the end date. And with this, these rulings I wrote to be served subsequently, consecutively versus concurrently. So the first ruling, he got a year ending in whatever date it was, in 2026. Second ruling carried on from that date through into 2027. Now, if you wanted to, you could, go with the 3 years, lump these together, go with 3 years, and have them served concurrently. I don't much have area really with that.
Kelly, can we go into now that we have all that, or?
Yes, if all of the facts have been provided for consideration, then I believe the agenda has the information for the chair to read, for the room to be, the room just needs to be cleared, and then we can go into deliberation to discuss what the commissioners would like to do.
Okay, before we do that, does anybody have any questions? Okay,
I'm looking
so
Connie,
Just-
do you need me to open the executive session on my end, or is just Micah needed?
Mike is gonna do it. You just keep yours open and we're gonna minimize you and go to the other one.
Remind
Okay.
me.
Perfect. I do have a quick question for Kelly. So I had to step away for a moment when we started this deliberation. For the
Oh.
recording, will I need to cut the deliberations out of the recording for the public?
We haven't started them yet.
Oh, okay, perfect.
All of this is public. We're still in the public
Perfect.
portion. We are about to go into the deliberation part, so you didn't
Awesome.
miss anything.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Any other questions before we go into?
Real quick, methemptamine, that's one of those drugs that's not, shouldn't be any in the system, is that correct?
It's a class 2. There's really no reason. The class 1s and class 2s are similar that way. The class 1s are a little more egregious because they have more of an ability to affect the outcome.
Okay.
But the class 2.
Methemptamine is a class 1.
Who is that?
Who said that? Please do not speak if you're not.
It's Alice Lombard. Methemptamine is a class 1.
You got it. You gotta raise your hand and ask permission to speak.
In other words, none in the system.
Okay,
Oh, and I see here it says a class 1.
okay, so all of its recommendations are.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else before we go into the whatever that session's called?
Deliberation.
Deliberation, thank you. Okay,
To clear the room.
let's go.
Okay, so let's
Where are we going?
clear the room of anybody that's not here. We're going to go ahead and Micah, you can close this so they can't hear us.
Thank you. I'll stick around for the meeting. I told my sister.
If it's too much for everyone, that was passed, so I think they were.
Yeah, it might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, we might just,
Just because it's almost 5 o'clock.
yeah, we
I
can
know.
do it online. We can do the medication
Okay.
online. We'll figure out a time to do it, reschedule it.
Oh, okay, so these people can go home.
And
can
they
all go
need, they need to get their horsemen together.
So should I present the motion or is that what we do at this
You have to
point?
call
Yeah.
it back into session.
I would like to call us back into session after our deliberation. Commissioner Fowler.
In session after deliberation, I am making a motion to the commission to, make a recommendation for, for a ruling with regard, for an order with regard to Juan Leon. After consulting with the stewards and reviewing the referral with the findings of fact and discussion and rulings of law, I propose that Mr. Leon's suspension period actually be a 5-year revocation period and a $1,000 fine. We based that on the number of prior violations that Mr. Leon had, as well as other aggravating factors. So does the commission need to then vote on that
Yes,
recommendation?
that
before
is,
we go to
that
the
is
next one?
recommendation. I would second that recommendation. Okay. All those in favor of that recommendation, say aye.
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 Okay, recommendation passes. Next one.
With regard to Ricardo Maria Santos, I would propose the recommendation that Mr. Mario Santos, who committed 2 separate violations of rules with regard to 2 different horses testing positive for phentermine, which is a Class A drug. The first violation of that rule, I recommend a $1,000 fine, a year suspension, and a loss of purse. On the second violation, I recommend a $1,000 fine and a 3-year suspension, with that to run concurrently, the suspension period to run concurrently for a total of a 3-year license suspension. However, the $1,000 fines are consecutive for a total of $2,000 in fines.
Yeah. Okay, that is the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Stein seconds. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. And these are the recommendations that we have for punishment or for.
Okay, and then next we're gonna go into executive session
For-
to discuss a confidential business.
Okay. So I move that we're going to go into executive session to consider information pursuant to ORS 192.660, amongst other things. So we're going into other statutes. Do you have a question, sir? Pardon?
Maybe that by.
We're not doing the medication.
We're not
gonna
doing-
We're gonna
cancel the
postpone
medication.
Okay.
We'll reschedule it because I have lots of people that need to get lots of places, so yes.
Because are we going to come back and reconvene and have to vote on anything or not?
We just have to come back and reconvene.
Reconvene and then-
Close the session. That's
Okay.
it.
So basically, we're not going to be doing any more business as a commission after we go into executive session to talk about a personal issue.
Mike, you're welcome to stay if you want, but you don't have to. Karen, I'm sorry, you have to stay. Because we have to clean up afterwards.
Okay. And so everybody else is gone unless, I mean, I don't think you need to come back for me to go meeting adjourned.
You
So,
can stay with him.
yeah.
Yeah, you can. You guys need to leave.
And I need,
I'm sorry, you gotta leave.
I need to sign off on this.
Yes.
Everybody's gone early enough. Shocker.
Malia, thank you for staying. with
Yeah, I
us.
was gonna
Yes.
I don't know. I'm ready for.
We've made it.
Okay, good. I close the executive session, reopen our just regular session.
I'm
I have a,
adjourned.
I second
will
the
will you
motion.
make a motion to adjourn by Stein? The other one? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Long meeting, you guys, but very productive.
Take care.
I want to make